and twisted them down in small little knots. And I thought that I was gonna get up in the morning and take my bantu knots and go like this, and my hair was just gonna fall down. Well, I didn't really realize hair had memory, so it remembered how it sat. And the next morning, I was like, I can't go to work like this. So I didn't go to work. I was serving tables at that time at Ruby Tuesday, and so I called off of work because I was just like, I can deal with a lot of stuff. It takes a lot to embarrass me, but I was like, I cannot serve tables like this today. My hair was literally standing up all over my head, but I was determined to have locks. So I kept them. The next day, that day, all day, I tied it down with a do-rag to make my hair lay down. And then eventually they laid down a little bit. I went to work the second day. They were just still kind of standing up a little bit. And I decided that I wanted to keep them. And so I did. And then that's how I learned that as long as your hair stays together, it will lock however you set it. So all of my stuff I learned through trial and error, but you guys do not have to do that. Okay, so then as I had my locks, the main thing was I had relaxer on the ends of my hair. Relaxed hair will not lock. If it's been chemically treated with a perm, like the straight hair people do with the curly hair, if it's been chemically treated with a perm, or it's been chemically treated with relaxer, or any type of chemical that's meant to permanently alter the natural texture of their hair, it will not lock.
So dye it.
If you dye your hair, it will lock. It'll still lock up. Just the ones that change the texture. Now the thing with hair color is if you take strong enough hair color and you put it on the hair and you move it and move it and move it, it will stretch it and take a little bit of the texture out, but not enough to where your hair won't lock up, okay? So the main things that we talk about when locking hair is really an understanding of hair characteristics. But before I get into it, let me you guys introduce yourselves so we become family in the room. You guys know who I am. I'm Deanna, your fave stylist. I had locks for 11 years and 3 months. I'm from South Carolina. I went to Grand Strand College of Beauty Design in Myrtle Beach for my cosmetology license. And then I worked in Tucson for 4 years at Posse Styling Emporium. However, I've been doing hair and getting paid for it since I was about 15 years old. I started off with braids and weaves. Then when I got my locks, people saw my locks and started asking about my locks. In 2008, I graduated from Strand College of Beauty Design in Myrtle Beach, and I moved here to Tucson, Arizona, in hopes of doing reciprocity with my license because when I get something in my head, I'm gonna do it. So I knew I was moving to Arizona, so I didn't even check to see if my license would transfer. I just moved, and I was like, we're gonna figure it out when we got there. Praise the Lord. Reciprocity does work from South Carolina to Arizona, because I've been on the way back to South Carolina. But then when I got here, I worked at Posse's for 4 years, and I became a very experienced loctician, even more so here. I'd say at least a good 75% of my clientele is locks and sister locks. In 2008, what was it? 2013, I graduated from Empire Beauty School, and I went there for my cosmetology instructor's license. And I've not worked in a school, but I've just been doing my own independent workshops since then because I didn't really want the ball and chain of having to ask for my days off, and I wanted to be able to move how I wanted to move, and I'm a busybody, so I need my space and time. And that's pretty much me. I own a salon in Tucson called Melvira's Hair Studio, which is named after my mother, Melvira. Her name means to be a pillar of the community and responsible in business affairs. And I also did that to keep myself motivated so that I would, when those tough decisions come, it would be easy for me to make it, because I feel like if I'm not doing it the right way, why'd you name it after your mom, So that is me. And this is Galaxy's best dad right here.
I'm a Star Wars nut. My name is Brian Umstead from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Retired out of the military after 29 years, just retired October of last year.
Okay.
And whatever job I chose next, I wanted the freedom and flexibility to create my own schedule. So
Okay.
I could do something different as well.
Okay. Okay.
Again, what brings me here today is to learn how to do this, so when my girlfriend doesn't want to do her hair, I can do it for her.
Oh, you are a good
I
guy.
try.
And where is she at today?
She's not here.
Okay.
She's in a different state.
Okay. All right. No worries. Well, you're preparing for her.
Trying.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate you coming to spend your time with
I'll
us.
be back.
All right. Awesome. Awesome.
I'm Kristen. I've been military also. I've been here since August of last year. Getting ready to move again August of this year. And I was telling I was telling Deanna, once I PCS somewhere, my biggest heartburn is always trying to find someone to do my hair. So someone recommended her shop in Tucson, and I went to her shop, and I think a couple of 2-3 months now, and she started, one of her ladies started my locks, and then I figured I'm getting ready to move again, so it would not hurt to definitely learn how to do it myself. And my son decided he wanted his hair locked as well, so this way I have a little bit of knowledge of what I'm doing for myself when I'm in those in-between stages of finding a hair care provider, and definitely I can do his now as well, so. How long you had your locks, you said? About a month now? Really?
Maybe a month and a half.
Month and a half, that's
Wow.
right, we said we did it.
They look good on
So,
you.
so, I have to figure out what to do, because I'm about to leave again. Yeah.
When do you leave, Miss Kristen?
Supposed to be August.
Okay.
So, Lower Alabama, Fort Rucker. Where you live?
LA.
LA, yeah, that's what they call it,
Oh,
LA.
okay.
That's what they call it.
That's, the last 21 years, the job that I have was as an Apache pilot, and that's where we go. That's the only place we can go.
Wow.
It's for, oh my.
That's it.
Back and forth for all the schoolers, and I made, well, air traffic service support, so we monitor flights, and so eventually that's where we end up going back to. It's not the only place, but we always end up going back there as well, so.
Very small world. Where do you are?
I know, right? We're all here for a reason
Yes.
today. Thank you for sharing, Miss Kristen.
Hey, man.
Hey, Miss Phyllis, tell everybody
Oh,
about
no.
yourself.
All right, my name is Phyllis Smith. I am the owner of PKS Salon. I've been a stylist for I've been licensed starting about 1992. So that's a long time. I got my license in DC Beauty Academy. And I'm military family, so moving back in, different places. So we decided that at the time, we decided to make this our home. And so I am a natural stylist, so I do natural hair and also hair coloring. So those are my specialties. I think that's enough.
Well, okay. Well, my name is Myra, and I've known Miss Deanna for a while, and I'm so proud of her. The way that I first met her is I was out at a Ebony fashion show, and I met her I kept looking at her stepmom's hair. I didn't know it at the time. I kept looking at the lady's hair. I couldn't focus on the fashion because I'm looking at her hair. Finally, after the show, I went up to her and I said, "Excuse me," I said, who do your hair?" And she said, "Oh, my stepdaughter do it." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, will she do it for other people?" She said, "Yeah, here's her," and she wrote it down on a piece of paper, just a piece of paper. And I kept that piece of paper, and then one day I called her up, and I went down. She was in Tucson, and she lived in her apartment, and so she was doing my hair, and I could tell when I first started talking to her that she was one of the type of people that was serious about her craft. She was serious about it, and I really admired her and everything. So from there, speed up a little bit, my son, at the time, when he went to, he wore dreads since he was high school for the longest, and when he went to school and he came back, he was looking for somebody to do his hair. So I recommend her, so she made a connection with my son in dreads, and then my niece. So it just rolled down, but the reason I have chose to do this, first of all, I want to see her succeed and I want to help her. But the last time I really did anything major to my hair Miss Phyllis did it, and I was so happy. I came in, at that time my hair was probably shoulder. I've had natural hair before it was popular. And so my hair was about down to here, but it was breaking pretty bad, like how it is today. You know, I wasn't caring for it. And Miss Phyllis just cut it real short, and I loved it and everything. So these are two ladies that I really admire, and I know they follow their craft, and they're just good. They got a good soul and good heart. So that's kind of me. And yeah, I think I've been retired for 20 years, and been here for. I've been retired for 20 years, and I served for 20. So.
Thank you for your
Thank you, Miss Myra.
It's just such an honor.
And I want to say, I met Dee at a natural hair event, and soon as she opened her mouth, we started talking. I was like, I want to know her.
Yeah.
I want to know her. And she was doing something else totally different, but it was just like that kindred spirit. You know how you meet somebody and you just like them? And I was like, I'm going to stay in contact with her. And so, how did we wind up? I mean, and then I just reached out to you. I did a class at her salon recently. I think it was last month. Oh, no, it was February, right?
February.
Well, I did a silk press class. It was just nice of her to allow me to come up and share with her salon. I thought that was great. Yeah. So, Deanna's very sweet.
You know what, Miss Phyllis?
Yeah.
I think I first met you at a hair show here.
It was
Yeah,
at
that was,
the natural hair show.
It was at the Natural Hair Show, and then great minds think alike. So we both ended up in Las Vegas at Marquetta
yes,
Breathless
you did.
$1 Million Stylist live event, and I'm like,
Oh, my
what's
God.
I am
That is
everywhere.
funny.
It's one thing that my father would always say, you can be everywhere or nowhere.
yeah,
And I put it in my heart, mind to say, I'm gonna be everywhere, either on social media, wherever it needs to be when it comes to hair, I'm gonna be everywhere. So,
Find people
That's
dedicated
right.
like
And
that.
that's why I said both of them, and there's one other stylist here that I feel have the same type of drive, and that's Miss Janelle. So, and I think her spirit is perfect too. So those are the type of people I just really admire.
That's good to see.
I've met Miss Janelle, she's sweet as well.
were you about to share something, Mr.
And
Umstead?
it's just, in the current state of our community, we don't find too many people, especially business affiliated, that's comfortable enough to open their doors for someone else to walk in to share their abilities and experience. We spend more
Right.
time destroying each other than we do building each other up. So it's a pleasure to hear that.
Good. You're absolutely right. We oftentimes, I think, want to hold on to everything. And what I've been learning from mentors over the years is it's not, it doesn't matter how much you have if you're holding on to everything like your hands are balled tight, you don't even have no room to receive. You're so busy trying to hang on to everything.
Yeah.
And if it's for you, it's for you.
Exactly.
I can give all of you guys all this information, and y'all can go somewhere and teach a whole nother lot class. You're gonna attract a different type of people, a different type of vibe, and you probably make just as much money as I do doing it, or more, whatever the case may be. And so many people are just too busy hanging on to their knowledge, very in a selfish kind of manner, and I feel like that's why we can't grow. So
It is.
I do not operate that way. I'm like, if it is for me, it's for me. I don't have to fight for my blessings. They usually come laid in my lap,
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And someone gave me this definition of education once, and it was along the same lines of what you were saying. Education is knowledge sharing.
Right.
If you hold on to it, who else is gonna learn? Who else is gonna know? So it's no longer education, it's wasted knowledge.
Yep, it is. It really, really is. It really is. You can take it with you to the grave, but it don't help nobody else.
So, yeah, but it's probably in the same condition that I came here. I really haven't been doing anything.
How short? It was about
it
2
was-
to 3 inches, I think.
Oh, it was
It's
where I
close.
could only brush it,
Wow.
brush it. But I love, I guess to me, this is just like how I'm going through now. It was a freedom for me. It was a this is something I've always wanted to do, is lock my hair, but I love so many different styles, and I always was concerned that okay, if I get it, I won't, I'll cut it off or something like that, because I like so many different styles. But I've been watching other ladies and seeing their locks and how they care for it, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. And then I think the other thing too is because my gray is starting to really come in, and I want to see how it looks.
Cool.
It's gonna look great, great, great. So let's get right into the meats and potatoes of it. I'm gonna give you guys everything that I got. And if you have questions, you feel free to ask questions. I usually have an answer if it's pertaining to locks, but if not, I can get an answer for you. Okay. So the first thing, who in here is interested in actually taking clients to do locks? Yeah, okay. And you are interested in just the girlfriend getting a better understanding, right? And
Self-maintenance on my little.
you are in the military and you're gonna end up taking clients.
Mhm.
Somebody's
So
gonna
that
see
is
your hair while you're traveling.
So that's not the
Yes, they
goal, but again, if there is someone, because and the reason I did it, the reason I finally decided on the lots as well, because I was back and forth on the fence. They finally approved it in the regulation, and I'm one of the, I'm an E9, so I'm figuring, okay, you know what, I can do it, and I can show
Yes.
folks how to do it the right way, so they're not walking around here looking unkept. And
Yeah.
also to kind of distill the myth of you can still advance if you do something outside of what's expected, with your hair. So if someone wants me to, Miss Deanna, I will, but that's not the intent. But
Okay.
if some-
Well, if so, you are gonna be prepared. After today,
Right.
the information that I give you guys will be able to immediately start taking lock clients. For the most part, it's just about your confidence, and with confidence, if you have the knowledge, the confidence comes right with it. So the first thing is, with your lock clients, I always kind of establish with them like, hey, I know who I am and I know what I'm doing. So the first thing I do is a consultation, because we also need to know where they're coming from, why they want to have locks. I ask so many different questions, because it will kind of put you in the mind frame of finding out how long is this going to be my client. Because a lot of people like to come in and get their locks started, and then you won't see them again. Because they just want somebody to give them the proper foundation, because the foundation is everything with locks. Sometimes you'll get people and they'll get their locks started, and then they'll come in for a month or two to make sure that they're good and locked together. But then they'll stop coming because they just wanted to make sure that you got them in there right, and they can twist them themselves. And what else? Whenever I do locks, I always explain the pricing to them. The first time with me is the most expensive. It's $100 for the first time. Most locticians usually charge the same thing that they would charge for maintenance, which means if they're charging $60 to retwist your locks, some people they charge $60 to get them started as well. What we'll be doing today, we'll be putting coils in Miss Myra's hair, and coils can actually be used as a hairstyle as well. So that just pretty much means that if someone wants their hair to be, say, like a curly afro and they have the texture to do it, we could put the coils in like we see in Miss Christian's hair and let her dry completely, rub our hands together with some oil and gently pull them apart, and she'll have little curly cues all over her head. So just as these coils can be used to start locks, they can also be used to change the texture of her hair, okay? So when we do locks, what we are pretty much doing is training the hair to stay in one spot. Hair will lock up on its own. It does not need our help. That's where you get your Rastafarians and other people that like to lock their hair in free form fashion. They just throw the comb away and they wash their hair. At most, some of them will just separate their locks as they go so that they don't get this big carpet mass that it could turn into. They're called dreads. It depends on which side of the fence you're looking at. Some people call it dreads because it means to be dreadful of God, and it's a representation to the Rastas as telling, Jah, do what you will with my life, Or some people say that they are dreadful, and that's why we call them dreads. Back when we first were kidnapped and brought over here, they wouldn't allow us to have our natural hairstyles and things like that because they were thought of as something dreadful, when reality was they were beautiful and they didn't want us to see our own beauty, you know. You're sure right about that. So let's get into our consultation. Miss Myra, how you doing? So tell us a little bit about why you wanted to start your locks, Miss Myra.
Okay, I just really haven't been doing anything with my hair, as you can see, and
Okay.
it's breaking and everything. So I kind of wanted to get back healthy.
Okay.
And I feel like with my life right now, I'm just so busy. And I feel like maybe if I can start this, I can maintain it and keep it up and not have to do a whole lot.
Okay.
The other thing is I love change. I love different hairstyles. This is one, I mean, I think I've had every hairstyle possible. And this is one that I have not ever had done.
Okay. Awesome. So the next thing I would ask Miss Myra is, how big do you want your locks to be? Or small?
Well, I'm sitting here looking. I don't know if my hair is not as thick as, you know, as healthy and thick as her hair, but I like hers.
Okay.
I don't know if my, I mean, I feel I have thin hair,
Okay.
so I don't know if mine would be as healthy and full and nice like that.
Well, this is the thing to understand with locks is like a fingerprint. You're gonna get your version of locks. So we could go for what Miss Kristen has and give you a similar version.
Yeah.
But you know, in 2 to 3 months, yours may not look just like hers. It may look similar in size, but definitely not in texture. If she has a bigger curl pattern, hers may have a tendency to swell up a little bit more. If you have a tighter curl pattern, yours are going to want to stay together a little bit more. So, to talk a little bit more about the size before we get into it, do you have a spray bottle with water that I can use, Miss Phyllis? I did not bring that. So whenever I'm talking to my clients
Do you prefer
about,
to have this?
yeah, that's fine. Thank you. So whenever I'm talking to my clients about their locks, usually before they even come in, they do a consultation with me. We do the consultation, they get about an hour's worth of my time for $30. And I go over their hair, past, present, and future, what to expect from the locks. I ask them to bring pictures. If they don't have pictures, I'll pull the pictures up on the internet for them, because I can say, Mr. Umstead, the sky is so orange and beautiful today. And if we both painted a picture of that beautiful orange Arizona sky, it's gonna be 2 different pictures. So, as locticians or people that consider to do locks, we want to make sure that we are 100% on the same page with our client, because whatever you start is gonna be the foundation of locks, foundation for their locks that they will have for many, many years to come, okay? So, I walk them through it. And I usually would often turn them around in the mirror, or I would put a mirror in their hand. So when you have people come in for consultations, they're gonna come and maybe their hair is blown out and free-formed, or maybe their hair is braided. Whenever they come to a consultation, you for sure want to say, come with your hair out and free-flowing, because you wanna see their natural texture, you wanna see what they're doing with their hair. When people come in, I look at how their hair is before they come in, because it oftentimes is gonna tell you a little bit about their personality. Do they want something more reserved, or are they gonna want their locks to lay down nice and neat? What kind of job do they have? You know, are the cultural barriers of this world something that you're gonna have to deal with in your job? For instance, the military just allowed us to start having locks and have given us permission to grow our hair the way God saw fit. Oh my
I
goodness.
have a question for you.
Yes.
So if they come in, let's say, do they have to, like for instance, you ask them, also when you first start, making sure that their hair is clean, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
like,
Which we're gonna shampoo her.
so making sure that because you would be the one who would shampoo it first, right? Instead of having them to do it at home, right?
Yes, I would shampoo them, because I like to make sure I'm starting with a clean slate.
Like,
You know, this is your art. You want your canvas to be clean before you get started, you know? Because oftentimes, sometimes they don't shampoo good enough, or their scalp, they can shampoo really, really good, but you ever had a client that shampooed their own hair, but their scalp is really, really dry, and you wanna get those flakes up out of there? Sometimes I want to use a good moisturizing shampoo that's going to make their hair a little bit more bouncy, so that as I'm coming through and doing my coils, that hair is reverting right back up,
Right.
you know? So it just really depends. Every once in a blue moon, I'll have somebody shampoo their own hair, but I can't even remember the last time I've done that. Almost everybody that has traditional locks. Oh, no worries.
Well, that's a good.
No worries, no worries. So, in the consultation, I would go through, this is a barber comb, okay? It is big on one end and it gets smaller down to the other end, okay? I love.
Can you show it one more time? Sorry.
Yeah,
that you've been
yeah,
in.
no problem. This is a barber comb. It's really small on one end. This is what I have come accustomed to using. I think it's because of the big handle, but you don't always have to use this. Some people like to use a regular rat tail comb, but the thing is the positioning whenever you're doing it. This right here is a actual comb made for locking. It's got a lint in it. This is a comb that's made actually for locking up hair. And it looks just like this, and it has these little sharp pieces. It makes it easy for you to go in and part the hair, and it has this cylinder right here, so it's easy for you to twist.
What is that called?
It's I call it a coil comb, but what you'll find when you go to hair shows in different places, people make up their own names for it, so you know it can sound jazzy with them. But this is a coil comb, is what I call it. I usually can only find these at hair shows or natural hair shows. I'm sure you can find them online, but I just grab them whenever. And I only have two because I don't use them, and I just keep them as examples so that my students and stylists that work with me know that there's different options to make it easier for them, because you begin to train your body to do this, and I am just accustomed to this right here. So when we go through and we do a coil, we're gonna get you shampooed, Miss Myra. When they say, oh, I want my locks number 2 pencil size, right? Well, you have to pay attention to 5 different things. And it's not like a big, like, oh my goodness, I did not think about her hair elasticity. Oh my goodness, I didn't think about that. And I wanted to write down these hair characteristics for you. The porosity of their hair is going to help determine how long it's going to take their hair to lock up. The elasticity of their hair is also going to help determine that. Elasticity also has to do with how much the hair will swell up. So you can see too. Elasticity also has to do with how much the hair is going to swell up and revert back, okay? And we have density, how thick is the hair. Sometimes you're going to run across people, hair is super thick in the middle, but thin on the outsides. So then you're going to be thinking, okay, she wants number 2 pencil size, but the density of her hair is really thin. Are you guys familiar with density? Okay, so the density of her hair is very low right on her temples, which means she has less hair per square inch. Well, in order to get a number 2 pencil size, you may make a bigger part right there, but a smaller part in the middle. So then you have to consider, am I going to be more concerned with her partings being uneven, or am I going to be more concerned with her locks all being the same size? And oftentimes I will walk them through that and just explain the process to them and say, hey, if we do these locks right here really big, in the beginning it's going to look a little bit different. You're going to have one big lock right here, but if we do it really small, you're going to have a very small lock. However, in most cases, what you end up doing is that big lock, I will make it 2 just for the sake of how it looks when they first start going. And then before the hair starts to lock up, I will blend it together as the hair grows longer, depending on what they need. Some people will end up tapering it and cutting it off and things like that. So that's one thing that you have to consider. Then you have to consider the texture. Is the hair thick or is it thin? And by that, density and texture sometimes get mixed up, because some people say, oh my goodness, I have thick hair. When it's really not that they have thick hair, it's that they have a lot of thin hair. So then that plays into it as well. And then you have your really, really thick hair people, and that plays into it as well, which we'll get more into it. And last but not least is your curl size. So whenever you're locking up hair, hair wants to do what it has been doing, what you've been allowing it to do. So let's say, what have you been doing with your hair lately, Miss Myra? Letting it kind of live life and do what it want to do, and that's okay. So if we look at Miss Lyra's hair, her curl patterns are about, let's say maybe about this wide, right? So I take that into mind, and when I go through and to give her an example of about how big her locks will be, this is how we determine how big our locks are going to be. If you take her hair and say we do our partings just like so, can you lean your head a little bit for them? If we do our partings just like so, and I twist it slightly taut like this, it's a 95% chance that her lock is going to meet up halfway. So it's going to meet from the actual parting from around to the middle part about right here. Halfway in between where this twist starts and where this starts. So it's almost going to be about the size of where the base starts to come together right here. About right there. Now, that could happen, because you see our hair already wants to revert back. It also could mean that it could be bigger. Because let's say Ms. Lyra decided, you know what, I always tell them to come in the first time. I want you to come in within 1 week, because I want to see what your hair is doing, and I want to see how it's adapting to what I've got going on. If it's coming apart, I want to try to catch it before it comes apart, right? But let's say, you know, Miss Lyra got deployed and decided to join back the military. And she left for 2 months and she didn't get her locks done. This right here, the hair is always going to try to go back to what it is used to.
Right.
So when we put these locks in, we are hair trainers. We're training the hair to go the way that we want it to go. And the foundation is the parts and the actual coils that we go through and put in. We could go through and grab Miss Lyra's hair and smooth it out and twist it just like so. Her hair is gonna lock up. People do them with the actual coils so that we can make the locks start all the way down at the root, and it makes it a lot easier to not have puffiness down at the roots. Does that make sense so far? You guys have any questions? So that is how we determine her lock size, and the fact that she wants hers to be very similar to Miss Kristen's, her partings are probably going to be about this size right here. So then when you go through and you do your partings, there are many different ways to do it. There is no wrong way to do it. That's when you want to talk to your client about whether they're concerned about styling or are they just going to let their locks freely flow. When I first started doing locks, I would come through, I'm going to spin you this way. I would come through and I would just do this little half circle, coil it on down, and this is what my partings would look like. But I had been doing it for so long that I knew, okay, I'm going to do those half circles all the way through, and then when I get up here, I'm going to work my way to the sides because I'm paying attention to the portion of her head as I'm going through, okay? So, Miss Lyra, we're going to get you some number 2 pencil-sized locks today, okay? So the first thing I'm starting with is her shampoo. I know you guys saw me detangling her hair. Before you take someone to the shampoo bowl, the first thing that you want to do is detangle their hair. Because if you do not, and you take them and put them in their water, you'll have a field day. And the reason for that is the porosity. Your hair is kind of like this. And then there's your meat and potatoes. And then sometimes there's this little place right here that does or does not exist. So, okay, these are your cuticles, right? These are cuticles. Cuticles lay down on the top layer of your hair, kind of like the shingles on a roof. And because we are earthly bodies, everything on us reacts to heat, water, cold. Whenever we run into something cold, everything tightens up. You know, our veins go in and we try to hold on to our warmth, our hair kind of behaves in the same manner. So that's why sometimes after you get a chemically treated service, they say run it with cool water because the cuticles close down tighter. So somebody with more porous hair, which traditionally curly haired people or tightly coiled haired people, in my experience, cuticles want to lay flat. They will grow how your hair comes up out of your follicle, because your hair follicle is actually what determines the pattern of how your hair will grow, how thick your hair is going to be. If your it's like the hair takes the nutrients that it needs from your bloodstream and it sits it in the matrix of your follicle and it keratinizes it and begins to shape and mold it, and as it slowly adds more of those minerals, it pushes it out, and as it pushes it out, the hair takes shape to what the hair follicle is shaped like. So we have curly hair, our hair follicles are like hooks under our scalp, okay? And so what happens is the hair follicles may still come out like that, but because the hair is actually curly, the hair follicles sometimes don't always lay down perfectly, which is a great case for locking up your hair. People with porous hair, they lock just like that, okay? So, Ms. Lyra, are you ready for your shampoo? Okay. I'm gonna take her over here and get her shampoo. Come on over. And you guys feel free to come around and watch if you like.
So is there a certain type of shampoo you need to use as you're prepping?
Great question. So the first shampoo, I usually use a moisturizing shampoo, and that is because I want their hair to be moisturized and conditioned, because I'm not gonna condition them for a while. Conditioner promotes smooth, soft hair, everything that we're trying to get away from, but at the same time, you still want the hair to be healthy, you know? Now, once we get into doing the hair, and they're coming in to have their locks done, there's a shampoo that I prefer to use on my people with starter locks, and it is called Sister Lock Starter Shampoo. So it's a shampoo that is going to, is that water okay, Ms. Laura? It's a shampoo that is going to allow your hair cuticles to lift up, and it's going to promote tangling. Now, the only thing about the Sister Locks shampoo is that it's very difficult to get a hold of unless you are a Sister Loctician, or you can simply go onto the website and order it. But sometimes they just be out of stuff. And I'm a certified Sister Loctician, so sometimes I can't get a hold of things that I need. But, and then there's also other starter shampoos out there. There's one by Bedhead, I think has one, and what is the other? What's the name of that? I'd have to look it up for you. There's another lock company that I use because they have a lock powder that helps lock Caucasian hair. And they have a starter shampoo that helps to lift up your cuticles. It changes the pH of your hair so that it will promote locking in the hair. And I always say that as long as you are using a starter shampoo or that unbalanced pH shampoo, it's more so like a clarifying. As long as you're using that, you don't want to use conditioner because it's just going to work backwards, you know. You're lifting the cuticle up so that it can tangle, but then we come back and we put conditioner on it, you know. So it kind of defeats the purpose of even using the shampoo in the first place. Now, it's not always mandatory for you to do that. But in most cases, you want the hair to lock up as quick as possible because that's what your clients want. They want their hair to lock up quickly. They want you to start styling it and braiding it and putting it up 2-3 weeks after they get them in. You know, many people start their locks because they're about to get married and they want their hair to be locked before they get married or something like that. Different reasons. I have one client who started his locks as a tribute to his friend that passed away because his friend had locks, and just many different reasons. When I started locks, I started my locks because I was in love with the fact that long hair made you beautiful. you know, and that is the honest truth. I was in a different mind frame when I was 23 years old when I started my locks. And I just, you know, I felt more confident with long hair. And so I knew that relaxers were not it for me because I would relax my hair and then braid it. Then relax my hair and braid it. So the science in my head was, you know what? I'm gonna let my hair get some new growth and then straighten it out. And then let it go for a little bit and then braid it because I'm thinking it's gonna make my hair grow. I was over processing the heck out of my hair, okay? I didn't know anything about relaxers. Our motto was leave it in until it burns, you know? And so that's what me and my friends would do. We would leave it in until it burnt because we knew, ooh, that's gonna get it super bone straight. Where I didn't realize my hair is fine. I just have a lot of it. And so it's no wonder my hair would never grow past the middle of my neck. And that was the longest it would get. So I decided, you know what? I see all these girls with locks and they have long hair, long, beautiful hair. So I said, I think my hair is hard enough to lock up. Because I thought my hair was hard and all I knew to do with it was braids. So, yeah, people get locks for many, many different reasons. And I think it's very important that we're aware of why they are getting locks. I'm guilty of having some white clients that I didn't feel comfortable putting their locks in for them. But you would be surprised how many of them have hair just like us, you know? You would be so surprised. You say you wouldn't be surprised?
No.
Well, you've seen it, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Where did you meet one of them at?
Well, I've just seen, just in coming and going, there's a guy, this is, wow, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I was in San Antonio going through my second AIT at the time. And I thought he was an albino. And so I was like, you know, I just kind of approached him and asked, you know, where'd you get your hair done?
Yeah.
And, you know, just kind of started there. I was like, so where are your parents from? He was like, Wyoming or something like that. Like, you know black people in
Wait, this is
Wyoming,
not
man?
adding up.
And he was like, not black. Are you serious? He was like, yeah. So how did you get your hair to do that? Well, it's just kind of how my hair was. All right, then.
Wow. And did he have like a curly afro or did he
Yeah.
have locks?
Yeah, it was kind of like a curly afro.
Wow.
Like, okay, was it Shaggy on Scooby-Doo?
Mm-hmm.
Something kind of that big, but it was like
Wow.
looking at my uncle almost white when I was younger.
That is something else. Yeah, they're definitely out there. The first white woman that I ran into that had locks, they were like really, really nice. But she had lock extensions. She had lock extensions. More and more different cultures. I don't even think more and more. I think it's been that way. A lot of different cultures are becoming fascinated with being black. They have Asians that are perming their hair to make it look short and kinky like the black boys do it. And they're literally putting little bantu knots and putting perm solutions so it'll stay curly like that and then getting their hair cut.
It's becoming fascinating.
Yes.
It's been like that through the histories of our people.
Mooney said, everybody want to be black, but don't nobody want to be black.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, so the sad part for our young one, well, I'm not gonna say our young one. The sad part to me is, I don't think we understand how much power we have as a people. Because if you look at the dynamics of fashion, music, dance, verbiage, just about everything is centered around our culture, and it has been for decades, or centuries, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Creativity too.
yeah, the most creative, which is why a majority of the things that we have in existence were created by our people. Not patented by our people, just by the systems and designs, but created by our people. I mean, if you you put a group of black people in a specific spot for, I mean, I'm not even gonna say a long time, they'll figure out how to take advantage of what they have. We always done that. We've always done that. Even with the barbecue. That was the scraps that, you know, the slave owners gave our people back then. But now they're eating the same thing they forced our people to eat back then at a premium price.
Right. Call it soul food.
Yes. And then, never mind. I was about to take a different direction on that, but I'll leave Paula Dean alone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because the person that cooked for.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Wow.
And she
I'll
took
leave
the
it
credit.
alone.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Lewis, you have a little squirt of conditioner I could use?
Oh, yeah.
Again, this is going to be the last time she'll be conditioned for a while.
More like a rinse out.
Just want to leave it for a few minutes to rinse it out.
Right here. Let me grab it for you.
Okay. So I usually, if it's a regular client, I would only shampoo them about twice.
That would be good.
But this is our first time going, so I want to make sure her scalp is really, really cleansed. And so I like to use my nails to kind of scrub a little bit and get the debris off of my client's scalp. In beauty school, they actually train us not to do that, but beauty school is based on the European standard.
Mm-hmm.
And our hair works a little bit differently, and you gotta get in there and kind of scrub our scalps and get that out.
Mm-hmm.
So, Miss Lee, I had a question for you.
Yes.
So I know there was, when I was in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, there was a, I won't say controversy, there was a petition going around where they were trying to make it mandated to where the African braiders they had to be licensed.
Yes.
Do you have to be, I know like Sister Locks, because that's trademark.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a licensing requirement to do regular traditional locks?
In the state of Arizona, there is no requirement.
Okay.
You can be what they call a natural hairstylist, which means that you can twist or twine natural hair without having to be regulated by the Arizona State Board of Cosmetology. They've also added some more to the term natural hairstylist, to where you can flat iron, hot curl, hot comb, and blow out hair now without a license. They just recently changed that last year.
Okay.
Is that because of the lack of harsh chemicals that you do utilize?
It's because white girls did not want to have to get a license to blow out hair and have blowout bars.
Huh.
You know, once
Okay.
those young
Oh,
ladies,
they-
Yes, they have
And that's all they do.
Yep, just blow out.
that's what it has been.
Wow.
Which is really crazy. There's a young lady named Essence China, and she was the young lady that fought for us to not have to have a hair braiding license here in Arizona. She came from LA, and when she came over here from LA, she was doing really good with the natural hair in Phoenix. And people began to report her to state board because they learned she didn't have a license. She fought the state, and she's the reason that we don't have to have a license. She had to get lawyers and everything involved. It was a whole uphill battle for her for like a year or two. And she had to convince them that if I were to go to beauty school, you want me to go to beauty school and pay all this money, I think 1,600 hours,
Mm.
and you guys can't even teach me how to do this. You know, if anything, I understand because in South Carolina, we have a hair braider's license, but the hair braider's license in South Carolina arose because we were boulevard hair braiders. I used to be one of them. We would be on Ocean Boulevard and the tourists would come. And when the tourists come, we'd say, hey, come get your boulevard braids. And I'm guilty of it being one of those young ladies who didn't know much about hair, but I knew how to braid. And we would grab the same comb and we would be putting braids in these people's hair. And fortunately, nothing happened with us, but someone's scalp got extremely infected from that happening, and they were reporting it, and there was nobody to regulate it. Then South Carolina came up with the hair braiders license where you have to go to the capital, which is Columbia, South Carolina, and you have to take an 8-hour class, which is a sanitary class.
So it's
Or
not even to show
sanitation
you how to
class.
do it, it's just
It's not even,
sanitation.
it's just sanitation.
Oh,
That's
wow.
it. It shows you how to clean your implements, how to recognize ringworms and scalp diseases, how to understand that you cannot determine whether these people have it. You have to refer them to a doctor. It teaches us to understand blood spill procedure and things like that, because there are women that are, professionally getting paid to do hair. They don't understand those things. So that's how it came up in South Carolina. And there's other states where it is a recommendation that you have to have a hair braider's license, but they actually teach you how to braid hair. So it's just different from state to state.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But if you have one, those credentials always go far whenever you're gaining clients and things like that, and let them know that you do understand the sanitization rules. That is important,
Yeah.
Yep. Did I answer that question
You
well
did.
for you?
You did.
So I put a little bit of conditioner on her. The shampoo that I did choose to use today is New Expressions. New Expressions is they have a scalp ale. All of my clients, I don't care if they have itchy scalp or not, my first shampoo is always something that's gonna tend to the scalp. With New Expressions is the Scalp Ale Therapeutic Shampoo. This helps to relieve itchy, dry scalp, and helps to ward off dandruff and fungus and things like that that may grow on the scalp. Because believe it or not, we have little organisms that live on us, and kept in a dry, moisturized environment, those are the things that begin to make us itch and things like that. And the actual smell that even comes from our sweat or our hair being dirty is just the waste product of these organisms on our bodies. So to get rid of all of those things, we wash ourselves every day. And to try to kill those organisms, I always come with a scalp oil, a scalp therapeutic shampoo. If it's not this, I'll use Design Essentials Therapeutics Anti-Itch Shampoo. Many of them, they can feel it. It has like eucalyptus and peppermint and aloe in it, things that help to cleanse, moisturize, and therapeutically take care of the scalp. And then I come back with my conditioning shampoo. I love this conditioning shampoo. I was working with the Design Essentials before, which is another good moisturizing shampoo. But I've recently switched over to New Expressions because it's been harder and harder for me to get products from my Design Essentials representative. And I love this shampoo. I'm starting to just use this one on everybody because it really, really makes the hair bouncy and truly soft. And then Basic is a good conditioner, but I just wanted to make sure I got a good moisturizing, good conditioner on her, because the first time is the last time that I'm gonna condition her until I feel comfortable. Because there's gonna be times where you can get your client's hair started and then they can come back within a week, 2, 3 weeks, and you put that conditioner on it and you'll condition them locks right up out of their head. And then, to me, I feel like it's not even right to charge them the full price to start it over, because you may have washed out the locks and things like that. One thing to keep in mind when clients come in for their maintenance is what I like to call a scrub distance. So when they come in and they have all these small partings within their locks, I do not like to, when the hair is free flowing, we have a tendency to really get in there. But when it's not and the hair is parted, I like the scrub distance, which is the amount that you scrub, to be no bigger than what the partings are in their locks. Or you're gonna run your fingers through their locks and it's gonna come out, which is a very, very small detail, but that's what it takes to be a great loctician. It's just the small details. Almost anybody can lock hair, but you just have to understand what the hair is gonna do and why it's gonna do it and what things that you need to avoid. Definitely not washing out their locks, and always be sure to tell them what to do with their hair when they leave, which you would think is understood, but with me doing locks for so many years, I didn't think I had to tell my client, don't brush your hair. I had a client that was pulling her hair up into a ponytail and taking a brush and she was smoothing that bad boy up. And she kept saying, this one keeps coming out. These right here just keep coming out. And I'm like, what are you doing? Your hair is kinky. I don't understand. It took 2 or 3 more visits. I'm putting them in. I'm knotting them up on the end and interlocking it down. Come to find out, I'm like, okay, sometimes you just gotta have a sit down moment with them. Like, I need you to walk me through every single thing that you do with your hair from the time you leave me until the time that you get here, because we looking at 2 different color orange, you know? So you have to like really break it down to them and say, okay, tell me exactly what you're doing. Are you wrapping your hair up at night? Is your hair getting wet when you get in the shower? You know, are you trying to twist the locks a separate way? Are you keeping your hands in your hair? Every little detail matters. And she was brushing her locks out because she wanted to pull things smoothly, and that was making her lock come out. It took us like a whole month to figure it out until I was like, okay, let's just walk through the whole process. So you want to be mindful. I suggest having like maintenance cards whenever you get finished with them, and you say, okay, when you leave here, you can wet your hair. However, when you wet your hair, you need to understand that you're going to need a lock retwist immediately after that hair gets locked. You're going to have people that are going to say, well, I work out. What should I do with my hair? Well, there's nothing that we can do about hair absorbing water and reacting to it. We're always going to have hydrogen bonds in our hair. Our hair is always going to react to the environment. But then you don't want to say, well, don't work out, girl. You know, don't work out because you're going to sweat your hair out. But you can tell them, you know what, that is sweat coming off of your hair. Sweat is salty, which will make your scalp and hair dry. So you want them to absorb that off of their hair. So I will tell them to wrap their hair up in a cotton bandana because cotton is absorbent. So while they're sweating, that cotton is going to absorb the most of it. Hopefully, they don't have a diet that their sweat just smells horrible and they want to wash it off immediately. But even after 3 or 4 days, they still want to try to cleanse or something like that, which is where your scalp tonic comes in. You could use something natural like witch hazel, helps to cleanse the scalp, or we could do a scalp tonic from Design Essentials, which is oftentimes made out of like aloe and alcohol and a bunch of other materials that you can, or ingredients you can go through and place it on the scalp. It can be used as a pre-shampoo treatment to help break up dandruff and stuff like that and kill that icky stuff on our scalp, or it can be used as a dry shampoo. Not meaning that it's dry, but meaning that you don't need water to cleanse the scalp. So you can place that down on the scalp and let it sit for a few minutes, and then you'll come back with a wet towel. But what they would want to do is kind of split their hair apart and hold it, and then go through and cleanse the scalp. That is not a full shampoo. That's something to get you by until your next shampoo. They're gonna say, how often should I shampoo it? I tell them, I want you to wait on me. You need to come back in here and get your hair shampooed. But in the meantime, if you work out a lot, I want you to use this scalp tonic. Some people do good with the regular scalp tonic or a witch hazel. Some people do not, and their scalp ends up drier after they get done, right? So what those people end up doing is I tell them to put oil on their scalp right away, right after it's dry, because I don't like to trap moisture in with the oil. But if they are more prone to dandruff, dry, itchy, flaky scalp, then I would suggest coconut oil. Coconut oil and or tea tree oil, but then you gotta pay attention to your clients and the dilution level of the tea tree oil, because if it's too much, just the natural acidity in tea tree oil can burn people. But most of the tea trees that we get at the beauty supply store, they are already broken down with a bunch of other stuff like olive oil and rosemary oil and things like that, so it's not as potent. But coconut oil is antifungal and antibacterial. You have to keep in mind, locks is a natural hairstyle, so natural products are going to work perfectly fine with it. There is a plethora of products out there. These are just the ones that I like to use. And most of the time, my clients will leave with a bottle of scalp tonic if we have it. There's also Sensations from Loran. Loran is their Sensations does the same thing as the Design Essentials scalp tonic, but theirs is a lot more similar in the consistency of it. It's like a liquid, like witch hazel. But witch hazel usually will work fine if they're looking for something natural. You're gonna run into clients that are wanting to start their locks, and they are not going to want you to use any shampoo with sulfate in it. Sulfate has been proven to dry the hair out. But if you know there's something in the shampoo that dries the hair out, then we know to use a good conditioning shampoo directly after, conditioner afterwards, especially if it is the first time. And if it does have sulfate in it and they're in the locking process, that's okay because that's gonna increase that porosity with that dryness a little, you know?
Well, this is based off hair. How long does the locking process, like, actually, it just based off the individual?
It is based off the individual. It is safe and very broad to tell your clients that it takes anywhere from 6 months to 24 months for hair to lock. Now that does go based on their hair porosity, their hair density, their hair texture. The amount of time that it takes is mainly porosity, elasticity, and I would say the porosity and elasticity mostly is what you'll be thinking about. Density too, is just so many different variations of it because you can have somebody with super elastic hair that bounces back as soon as you pull it, but then their hair could be so dense that when it bounces back, it wants to just puff up in an afro, you know? And then you can have another person with that same amount of elasticity and their hair be fine and stay within that, you know, the curl that you put it in. And then let's say that the hair is super elastic and you stretch it and it reverts back really, really well. But the reason hair reverts back is because it's trying to go back to what it's used to. So if what you're used to is, I'll come over here and show you. So let's say you have a small curl pattern. And your curl pattern looks like this. But we want our locks to be this size right here eventually. Well, if your hair is really, really elastic and I stretch it out, but it wants to bounce right back to this, well, I'm gonna stretch it out and then I'm gonna wrap it and there's gonna be more hair in a coil and the coil is gonna be about this size. The hair inside of this lock or coil that I created is trying its best to fluff up and bounce back out so it can separate and go back to the individual curls that it was in. Which means we're training it and we're always reminding it, you need to stay here, I'm twisting you to the right, and that's another thing, I always twist to the right. Different parts of the world, they do different things, but in America, we traditionally twist our locks to the right-hand side. Every once in a while, you'll run into somebody where maybe they started their own locks and they'll part it down the middle and you'll see this side twisted to the left and this side twisted to the right. I have one client like that and we'll be getting into some good conversation and I've been twisting his whole head to the right and I'll say, you know what, I gotta take this side down because I believe that after so many years of twisting the hair to the right, twisting the hair, we're training the hair, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go to the right. Cool, this is cool, I got this. After a while, the hair almost begins to grow out in that fashion, and you can kind of see it until you let the locks go for, say, 2 or 3 months or something like that, and then it just begins to grow back out freeform. Well, I feel like we're putting this tension on the hair to go this way, go this way. It's very important that the locks always go the same way because what happens is if immediately, as soon as you start to twist the hair the other way, the hair remembers that, and that is a form of training texture out of the hair. So if the hair is, shoot, I left my mannequin here in the car. So if the hair, I use myself. So if the hair is like this, and we're twisting this way, twist, twist, twist. This would be my lock. This is supposed to be to the right, so that would be this way, right? We're twisting to the right, we're twisting to the right. Okay, this is my scalp, right where my hand is at. My hair grows out, boom, and I have this hair, and I twist this hair to the right, twist this hair to the right, and then I move across the country and I go to a new loctician and she does her own thing her own way. She begins to twist my hair this way. Immediately, as soon as she starts doing that, it could be 6 months, a year, 2 years later, you're gonna see that line of demarcation where you started twisting to the opposite way because the hair is used to going to the right, used to going to the right. So you're allowing and guiding the texture this way, but then you start going this way, it kind of like pulls or stretches the hair a little bit. And not stretch it by meaning literally stretching the hair, but it trains the texture the other way. So how many of you guys have ever hot comb, not hot comb, but hot curled hair? As soon as you place the hot comb, I mean, why do I keep saying hot comb? As soon as you press the curl, you curl the hair and you curl it one way, oh my goodness, it's not supposed to go that way. When you try to make it go the other way, it does not curl the other way. It goes like straight, limp. And so it's the same kind of concept with the locks. You're making it go this way, making it go this way, then you go back this way, you know. And but then when people have super thick hair, a lot of density, those people don't seem to have those type of problems because their hair is so dense. The actual strand of their hair, it just handles chemicals better. It handles tension better. Those people usually retain length a lot more. Their hair is just stronger. They just have more of this cortex part in here. So their hair just can handle a lot more. But my people with fine hair, I'm like, you do not twist your locks the other way because it could be a year from now and you're with another loctician. You're going to swear up and down she broke your hair off. It could be that loctician that started twisting your hair the wrong way, you know, for that couple of months you was in this city. And that's why a lot of people with locks try to stick with the same loctician until it is just, until they have to go somewhere else and get their hair done somewhere else. Yeah. So, Miss Phyllis, I'm gonna grab a towel. Are they up here? Are they right here?
Right there.
Okay. So we've got her all rinsed out. It's very, very important to make sure that all of the conditioner is out because hair only absorbs what it needs. So if we have conditioner in her hair and then we try to put products in it, it's just not gonna work. You're gonna end up seeing buildup. Anytime with locks, we shampoo really, really well, but more than shampoo, rinsing is our best friend as much as they can stand the warm water. Because if not, what ends up happening is that, we can come on over here, Miss Myra. What ends up happening is buildup. And once you start getting buildup, it's really difficult to get rid of buildup. Buildup is just an accumulation of lock products, dirt, dead skin, hair oil, and a lot of times lint. People get a lot of lint in their locks, and they're gonna say, what should I do? I'm gonna say you shouldn't have got this lint in your hair because there is almost no way to get lint out of locks. And it has even gotten to the point to where people will, dye their hair to camouflage the lint. And if you catch it in enough time, I've come up with this trick where you can take actual like duct tape or masking tape and wrap it around your hand the same way you would get lint off your clothes. And I'll grab their locks and I'll just be patting and patting and patting. And then another thing that you're gonna run across is people with pets. So you can see their animal hair locked, it actually locks into their hair. I do not sit and take the time to pick that out. Sometimes I do if it's like, you know, big obvious pieces, but many times you can't see it because the hair is just, it's weaving its way into the lock. So for these reasons, I oftentimes request that they wrap their hair up at night, even if they're just laying around the house and just chilling, wrap their hair up, especially if they have pets or they have cotton material on their couches and things like that. And of course, we don't always want to like wrap our hair up every single moment, but if you would like your locks to be healthy, that is what is suggested. Because that material helps to build up in your locks, and it can cause your locks to break off in the future, because oftentimes when we have that buildup, you'll have these nice, beautiful coils. Your hair can start breaking off from the inside and work its way out. And so that's why it's so, so, so important to rinse, rinse, rinse. When you think you're done rinsing, rinse some more, you know, because our hair is like a sponge. It just absorbs everything. And then with the locks, you have that hair that already absorbs everything, all compounded together. So you treat the hair as if it is fabric. I call it our God-given fabric that grows out of our scalp. So while you are rinsing, this is when you're at your mature stage. So while you're rinsing, you're taking the water and you're squeezing it through the hair, and you're squeezing and almost taking the water nozzle and pressing it. And you want the water pressure, once the locks are mature, to be as high as the water pressure can go and as warm as they can stand it, unless they have hair color in and you don't want that warm water to wash out their hair color. Okay? So we're gonna get into it. This is the fun part where you guys get to come and you guys get to touch. Is that okay, Miss Marla?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So just to go back to the shampoo bowl,
Yes.
once their locks are in and then they come in for a cleaning,
Yes,
the shampoo, just only shampoo. You're still gonna have some of that loose at the base, right? Even
Yes.
with shampooing, you're gonna have that loose as well. But I know what you were saying about the conditioner.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
the shampoo, I just want to make sure that I.
Yes, so you're saying that will it still be loose
It'll
at the
still be
roots
loose,
once you
right?
wash it?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's gonna be loose, and that's perfectly normal. Even once their hair is mature, you're still gonna see that
See
at the roots.
Okay.
Some people do not like that, and they're gonna come in more often to see you.
Mhm.
But what you want, I have devised a pay scale, right? So this is how I do it for my clients.
Okay.
In order for them to start locks,
Mhm.
in order for them to start locks with Deanna Your Fave Stylist, I charge $100.
Right.
That's just for traditional locks. But directly after that, they're gonna wanna come back and they're gonna say, you're gonna say, I wanna see how your hair is gonna do within a week or two, so I wanna have you come back. Traditionally, or usually with me, just a traditional retwist, a shampoo, condition, and a basic retwist is $70. Okay? Then that is for if you come and see me, within 4 weeks and beyond, 4, 5, 6 weeks later. Most people, once they get going, about every 4 weeks is usually about what they will do after they're established, after about a year. But in the beginning stages, we're training these locks. They want to swell back up. They want to come apart. A lot of our clients and beautiful African descendants are getting their hair locked up, and they're in corporate America. It's very, very important to them for their hair to look neat and nice, because when our hair is relaxed and taken care of, our counterparts have a tendency to relax a little bit more,
That's what my daughter said.
They do, and it's really sad, but it's the truth of our struggle, and as long as we know what we're dealing with, we know how to deal with it. So $70 every 4 weeks, and say they want to come back and see me within 3 weeks, I'll charge them just $60. They come back in 2 weeks, I'll charge them $50. But if they come back in 1 week, I will only charge them $40. And usually when they come back for the 1 week, that is when I do no shampoo. Because usually it takes about 2 weeks before we get to we're gonna be itching and itchy. So most locticians, if you go up north, Chicago and all of that, they just charge a flat rate. It's $70 every single time you come in. However, I feel like always charge what you're worth. Always, always. But at the same time, I charge what I'm worth, but I also like to take care of my people. And I know that a lock client is a recurring client. That is somebody that needs you to help maintain their locks. Some people, I just don't feel right saying, okay, every time you come and see me once a week, it's going to be $70. that could be a lot. So the $40 one is usually because we're just trying to make sure those locks stay in. My people with super, super straight hair or really, really big curl patterns, always 1 week. Sometimes they're coming in for 1 week for 2 months. And then after a while, I'm like, okay, because they're gonna say, well, how often should I come back? I'm gonna say, we're gonna play it by ear. And first, everybody will get 1 week, but for sure, my people with a smoother, more laid down cuticle, which means their hair is less porous, those people are going to come in at least once a week. And then your people that are in corporate America that are trying to keep their hair looking nice and neat until they get to the point to where they can style it, they're gonna be on that once a week regimen for a while. And then sometimes people come in and we do the 1 week and I'm like, oh, you're fine, don't even, next time we'll do 2 weeks, we'll do 3 weeks and things like that. And honesty is the best policy. Just tell people what to expect of their hair and you tell them what you charge and what you're worth. And they usually will roll with that. They like the honesty more than anything. What's your question, Ms. Kristen?
So I'm just curious, because when I started taking my son to get his hair twisted, the lady that was doing it would tell me to bring him back every month, because if she twisted it like 2 weeks, every 2 weeks or whatever, she said eventually it's gonna break off. Any truth to that?
There is some truth to that, but I don't think that it will break off. I mean, if she's like super twisted it, then yes, if the tension is way too much. But I have popped off my own locks.
Really?
But because some people are so fascinated with their locks that they have a tendency to go back to that same spot and swirl, I twisted a bald spot right here in my locks. And that is how I learned that. I had a client once, every single one of his locks had alopecia around it because he felt like the continuous twisting was making his hair lock quicker. Yes, it was. It was training his hair faster, but it was pulling his hair out slowly as well, So hair is our God-given fabric. If I took my hand on some blue jeans and I just rub and rub and rub for 3 weeks straight, non-stop, I'm gonna get a hole right there, This is our God-given fabric. So too much can be too much and too little cannot be enough with locks. So like I said, it depends on those 5 hair characteristics that we went over. Okay, and there are some locticians that you will run into and they're gonna say, don't wash your hair because we want your hair to lock up. They don't wanna disrupt the lock pattern or the locking process. That is true. If you don't wash your hair, it will lock up quicker. But you're gonna also be locking up all that dirt and beeswax or whatever else they decide to put in your hair. Clean locks are healthier locks because if you have all that stuff built up in your hair, your locks are heavier over time, which means that as your hair grows out, the weight begins to train your hair to a lesser, curlier pattern, which means when you have less curlier hair, less kinkier hair means a smaller version of your lock. So that means that you started off with these locks that wanted to fight back and your hair wanted to expand. And this is gonna be Ms. Myra's hair right now. 5 years, this hair that we started with is gonna be down here. So we want to treat all the hair from this point all the way up the same way that we treated the hair that she first got going, because we want the locks to be consistent all the way through, which is why it's very, very important to know the hair characteristics, because there's gonna be a time when you get in your client's hair and they may not require the same amount of attention that they required when you first got started because the hair was untamed, so to speak. But as it tames itself, like I said, it'll almost begin to grow into the texture, into the pattern that you placed it in, unless it's been like 2, 3, 4 months and it's significantly grown out like 2 or 3 inches, So there are different types of locks. You've got sister locks, you've got interlocking, you have back combing and palm rolling, all types of stuff to make people lock up. But the end results usually all end up being the same. A lot of people are getting into lock extensions now. Lock extensions is when we use African textured hair to braid and wrap the braid so that it will end up looking like an actual lock, which are all other workshops that I teach as well, so that we can lock up the world. I call them MHS lock stars. So whenever I'm starting traditional locks, which is the one that we'll be using today, I'm gonna spin you this way. I'm used to warning people about spinning because my little kicker will tear your ankles up at the shop. Okay, so I always start from the back. So Miss Lyra, I imagine that you plan on having these locks for a while. Okay, and you're gonna want styles and things like that once we get going. So for Miss Lyra, I'm gonna call you Miss Lyra. I know Miss Lyra. So for Miss Myra, if we look through, her hair is slightly thinner right here. This hair right here is almost gonna be guaranteed to pop off if we try to lock it. Okay, because it's finer right here. And just fine hair does not seem to do well with holding the locks together on its own. So if I know that I can do these slightly bigger to give them a little bit of strength to hold together, then this hair right here is gonna fall right over that, okay? This is not gonna thicken up because we got locks. You're gonna get people that are gonna think that if you're locking up their hair is magically going to make their hair thicker. It does not do that. We have to work with what we have, where we're at. You're also gonna run into people that are gonna have thin spots and they have that same concept. They're gonna say, can we do a lock extension and a lock repair so that you can fix this for me? Lock repairs are nothing but a Band-Aid over a lock that is still gonna pop off. So I will do lock repairs for people, but I explain to them this is not a fix. This is a Band-Aid that will stay on as your hair grows out, okay? So we're gonna get right into the locks. Now, just to make it easier, I'm gonna section her hair. Because if you're not used to doing locks, the first thing you want to do is section the hair so that you can kind of look at her hair and determine how big locks are gonna be, where you're gonna place them. Almost like if you do cornrows. If you do straight back cornrows on someone, can you lean your head back for me, Miss Myra? If you do straight back cornrows on someone, you want to know how big their hairline is back here in reference to the hairline in the middle, in reference to the hairline at the front. Because if we were doing, say, straight back cornrows with Miss Myra, it would be really easy because the braids almost could be the same size from the front to the middle, all the way to the back. But some people have a more narrowed in hairline in the back. So in our particular, in reference to what we're doing with the locks, if it's a more narrowed in, you want to keep in mind, in the middle, I may have 10 of those size locks. I may have only 4 back here. Don't feel like you have to match it all the way through.
My phone I have a lot, it's an alarm.
Where is it, honey? In here?
So this is my gel, guys, right here. This is what I love to use. When I first started doing locks, I used Rockefeller Twist Butter, which was by Razak Products. That one was designed for men, so it smelled like men's cologne, but it was one of the best lock butters that I had run across. They also have a lock gel by Razak, which I thought was amazing. A lot of people like to start their locks with beeswax. I keep beeswax for emergency situations only. For my people that have a bigger curl pattern, like our mixed people, their hair usually has bigger curls in it. Their cuticle is usually a lot smoother. And oftentimes their hair is not as elastic, so when we stretch it, it doesn't stretch hardly at all. And for my people with dense hair, that same rule applies. But this product is pretty much all natural. So although a lot of people like to say natural, this is natural with preservatives in it. Because if it did not have the preservatives in it, it would go bad on the shelf. There was a time that I was using shea butter and I was whipping it together with natural aloe. That could sit in my cabinet probably for a week before it started to get mold on top of it. So there are natural products. They're usually a lot more expensive because they have a shorter shelf life and they have a lot more natural things in it that cost a little bit more than the chemicals you can put in it, So usually what I would do is I would have this, and I never cross-contaminate. So if you're going to be using more than one, if you're gonna be using this for more than one client, this is gonna be Ms. Myra's, gel bottle. So, but if you're gonna use it on more than one client, you do not wanna cross-contaminate, so you always want to have an additional color bowl or container to scoop stuff out and put it in, okay? So, let's get right into it. Do you guys have any questions before I get going? Okay, let's get into it.
And
So-
where we can purchase this gel?
I
Mhm.
purchased this gel, I ordered a big one. I brought some for sale today, which I'm gonna discount it for you guys. I think we usually sell them at the shop for like $12 a jar, but today you guys can get a jar for 10. But I usually order it in bulk, and I get a big jar of 5 pounds, which is usually, it used to be 110, but material prices are going up, and so the companies are going up as well, which is something to be mindful of whenever you start doing locks. When the prices of your products go up, your prices have to go up, or you're gonna end up losing money. Okay, so yep, I do a 5 pound jar. That 5 pound jar of my gel usually would last me, I'd say, lately it's been lasting me about a month and a half to 2 months because I just have that many lock clients. Okay, so this my gel is really, really thick. Okay, you guys can kind of look at it. It's super, super thick. This is water soluble. Any product that you're gonna use on locks, you're gonna want it to be water soluble. You wanna be able to put water to that bad boy, and it's gonna be able to rinse out without a problem. Otherwise, if it's not water soluble, those are the products that are building up in our hair, okay? So we usually, once we do lock maintenance, we will be using little silver clips to clip the hair down in place. But the idea of doing traditional starter locks is that you're just showing the hair where you want it to lay. The first time, I usually don't do any clips because I don't have any issues with where the hair will lay down when I get finished with it. So the way that you guys won't have issues with making the hair lay down is the way, whichever way the back of this comb is directed. Whenever you put the comb in there and put the coil, that's where the hair is gonna lay. So you're gonna run into some customers that want what I like to call the Maxine Shaw look off of a Living Single. Because she used to kind of like her hair up and kind of cute and wild. So if you get a client that wants that and they're starting locks, then you would go in and you would coil the hair up. This would go up because you want the hair to stick up. But if you want the hair to lay down nice and neatly, because we're trying to make the folks relax at work, then we want it to go down, okay? So, I'm gonna go in here and I'll start my part. And so the same way that we go through and we comb through hair, when we comb through it just like that, it's the same way. So we go in, we comb in, and then we go down just like that. So the trick is to make sure that this hair on this end does not get wrapped back into the comb, so you can use your other hand to keep it out the way if it doesn't stay out of the way. And then you can smooth as you go, okay? Now another trick I will show you, when I do it, and again, these ones at the back are slightly bigger than what we're gonna do them because we don't want this hair to be hanging out by itself because I'm 100% sure it'll pop off if we do that. Okay, so this tip of the comb right here, I like to use this to lock in the coils. You can kind of lock in what direction the hair is gonna go in. So when I come through, when I do my coil, I'll take this piece of the comb and I put it right back at that bottom piece. That locks it in and it'll stay going in that direction for this retwist session. Okay, you see how her hair reverts back? That's okay. This is the first time. But if you do not want that to happen, then you can twist it and twist it because her hair texture is different everywhere. But if Miss Myra's hair was this texture all over, we would for sure have to be using clips to make sure that it stayed in place, okay? But this right here is okay, because it's just gonna be this row. And if I don't feel confident that the hair is gonna behave and listen, then before we get her under the dryer, I'm still gonna clip her down, okay? So you can do one or two things. A shortcut to doing this would be, a lot of locticians like to take this and just set it right here so they can just keep moving, because time is money. Okay, so once you get going with your lock clients, you'll find that what'll happen is you'll have one client in your chair getting twisted, and then we'll have that client go up under the dryer. By the time that client is up under the dryer, once you get your speed and your skill set up, it should have been 45 minutes by the time you got done with that first client. You can schedule your next client 45 minutes after your first client. Within 45 minutes, she's under the dryer, and you are shampooing and conditioning your next client, because it's 45 minutes to an hour and a half before the first one dries. So if you get your clockwork together, you could be doing locks nonstop all day long.
I've seen you do it.
Oh yeah, it's some days I have 10 heads come in, but I'm moving like nonstop. That's one thing about being a professional hairstylist, is being mindful of other people's time. I'm really, really big on that, because I've been to black hair salons where they just are not into that. And you go and you are waiting 3-4 hours, you know, and yeah, I do not like that. I don't want to sit for 2 hours, and then when you finally get to me, it's only an hour by the time you finish my hair. I'm like, I could have came now if you needed me to, if you would have just said something. Which also goes to having a great relationship with your clients, because sometimes stuff happens and people are more likely to work with you when they have a relationship with you. So I always encourage, talk to your clients, you know. Because if something goes wrong, you guys have a relationship, they get it. Whereas if you just treat them like a number and they call and say, oh my gosh, I've got an emergency. They're like, this child don't talk to me, she late all the time. Now she got an emergency, I don't know if to believe her or not. Okay, so what has happened on this one was I put a little bit too much product, and so it's holding it super straight, which shows this lovely my gel at its best. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the next one is I'm not going to put as much product. As we go up though, that product is going to be our friend, because Ms. Myra's hair gets thicker as we go up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to wet her with the spray bottle a little bit, because I like wet hair when I'm locking. I don't like to let it get dry, because when it's dry, it also comes out straighter like that as well. Which this, to the eye, this doesn't look as nice, but it will still lock up the same. All right. So I think Miss Lyra's hair is probably going to start locking within, I'd say, at least 2 to 3 weeks. Her hair is going to be staying together well. But there's never really an exact time frame. People are going to say, how long will it be before I start locking? You can give them a roundabout, but I would never lock myself into a time frame with a client ever, because everyone's head is different. And, you know, back to the same color orange, they are thinking when you say, okay, it's going to be 2 weeks. This is a good one right here. It's going to be 2 weeks before your hair starts to lock up. Some people take that and run with it, and they're like, okay, we said 2 weeks, I'm going to be locked up. And it's like, no, not like locked up like you may start. And then all the locks do not start at the same time. I like to call it budding. So what happens is, as the locks begin to lock, hair locks up from the ends of the hair down to the roots. So you're gonna see more locking in the middle. You'll see little pieces getting thick, and you'll see it on the ends as well. So what happens is, when that starts, you're gonna run into problems with keeping the lock consistent all the way through. If you can catch the budding and comb it out and smooth it back out, that is what's gonna be best. Otherwise, your clients are gonna say, what's going on? Why are some of my locks lopsided and things like that, you know? There's a young man called, what's his name? Damien. He's a lock guy from Dallas. And although I swear he be clowning the heck out of his clients, he knows his lock stuff. And, he calls it your locks are pregnant. Why are your locks pregnant? Because you're supposed to catch that and kind of comb it out before it gets that far. But if you let it lock like that, it's going to take a little bit more time for you to train that out. So I like to use this comb. And you see how we're just pretty much taking her curl and placing it right where we want it to be. Just like that. Now, Miss Kristen's hair is a little thicker than Miss Lyra's, and I would say a little more dense.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I was about to ask you was my pregnant was over here.
Yeah, they're starting to grow out and lock up. And so you just work with the curl pattern. That's all. Work with the curl pattern.
I'm glad you recognize the whole, depending on the dynamics we work in. That's why I've been doing this 2 week. When it starts looking a little fuzzy, I get different interactions at work. Like, oh, some made everything okay. I was like, everything's fine.
Yes. They had like a light falling apart because your hair a little fuzzy.
Nobody won't say it, but the feeling I get is she looking a little disheveled today.
Yes. That's crazy. There was a young baby that, I don't know if you guys saw the story, but he was a wrestler at school.
Yes.
And they made that baby.
Yeah.
It hurt my
He's been wrestling
feelings.
all season, and we wait till he gets to this tournament to force him to cut his hair.
Yep. I looked up the regulations and everything. They were way out of line.
They were, and the referee, they say that he won't be able to officiate in that district anymore. He should not be able to officiate ever in his lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, he's actually suing now for defamation of his character.
Yes, he is.
Cause you could see the pain on the little boy's face.
Yeah.
And he did it for the team. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Well,
he was
Miss
such a
Deanna, you
team
said
player.
something on that post. I saw it posted on your page. You said they can reconnect them? How is
Yes.
that? How can they?
So, that is the lock repair. So you can take locks that have been cut off and you can comb them out on the ends.
Mhm.
And then, let's say we would halfway retwist Miss Myra's hair just like this. We'd leave this fuzzy part. We would take that combed out piece from the lock that was taken and we would lay those two fuzzy parts together and we would kind of rub them together just like this. And then we take a small crochet needle with a hook on it and we go in there and we just hook it over and over. It's very, very tedious, but the hair will lock. It will lock right up to it with no problem. And sometimes I have clients that want to request that service. I do a whole consultation with them because that is a very expensive service. Because it's 10 minutes each lock. It's going to take a while. And so I walk them through the service and then I walk them through the website as to where they can get the hair since we're not selling it in the shop yet. And then I show them the process.
Yeah.
And they always say,
Never mind. So you're like fusing the hair back together?
it is like fusing the hair back together, but you can do it with hair that is not yours too. You know, so they are now selling artificial locks online. People are just sitting at home and making locks and posting them up on Etsy and wherever else online.
It's
And
kind of risky, isn't it?
it is because your hair is not going to be the same as that lock hair when it grows out.
Right.
So I always tell them, we can do this shortcut, but your hair is not going to look like this because this is not your hair. This is just a shortcut.
So would it be advisable under those conditions, if you had a willing participant from your family that's gonna cut their hair, to have them donate their hair to you?
Yeah, we could do that. I actually still have my locks.
Do you?
I have my locks. I have another client's locks.
I have my son's locks.
You got his locks? Yeah, it's something, you keep them. Some people say that when you cut your locks off, it's almost like starting over brand new.
Yeah.
Everything that you went through within those 11 years and 3 months that I had them, some people say the energy from those situations are trapped within your locks. So some people like to just start over afresh. They have a baby, they'll chop their locks off they've lost a loved one, they'll chop their locks off.
My son did his when he turned 25. That was his.
I was
That
like,
was
nah.
that was his point.
Greg was a very good client, very sweet guy. He's got a baby now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we're working our way through. There's also another way to do lock extensions is when you braid it and you buy the Afro kinky hair and wrap it. I suggest that way more than anything because then you can determine how the lock is going to look. And if you are already familiar with determining how a lock is going to develop, then you know how to create the lock extension so that it will match it, which is another service that I offer, but they take a long time. It's a very expensive service. I start mine at $600, and that usually covers them for like up to the 4 inches, usually with sister locks. But with lock extensions, I always tell them that's going to cover you for the first 6 hours, and then after that, it's $100 an hour. Just because it is so tedious, and you want them to really take it seriously if you're going to be doing all of that. So, Miss Lyra's locks, her parting is right here. When we twist it taut like this, her locks are gonna come out about your size, but they're gonna be about this way. So you see how you have more locks, but she's going to have less locks, but to get that size, this is what we would do for her, okay? So, going through with the product. Like I said, there is no wrong way to section the hair. What you're going to find out is that as the hair develops, some of these parts end up blending away anyway. And they sometimes become more circular. Unless you've got one of those clients that's like faithfully coming every 2 weeks exactly, those are the clients, their parts are going to stay intact for you. But the ones that you see, you know, every 3-4 months or something like that, they are not going to, they're not going to have as much of their sectioning. Now, if you decide to section and you're ended up having to do somewhat of a brick lay, which means that there's a part here and above this part there'll be a lock right there, which more than likely will happen as we get closer to the top. The styling is really what becomes more difficult because then you're concerned with how are we going to style her hair, which is a whole nother ball game because then we have to, I don't even know how to explain styling. I have to just like show it to you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Armstead.
So would you discourage styling on a fresh set of locks?
I do discourage styling on a fresh set of locks because I discourage styling because I want the locks to lock a certain type of way. However, if you braid it up, it's going to stay together a lot better. So if you loosely braid it, it's probably okay. But then the thing with styling is like that style can't sit in there for like, 4, 5, 6 weeks. I always tell my clients after a week, take your style out because your locks are going to lock how they sit. And if you have fine hair, imagine us twisting this and leaving it in the lock. It's going to lock small and skinny like that where we don't want that. We want this hair to bulk up, so we can have some strength to it. Okay, so we're working our way through. So as we get to the top and we get to the end, I'm going to let you guys see if you can create some to blend it on in with the rest of them, which I'm sure you can do. We have a small intimate class, so that means we can have a little more hands-on. The larger classes can't really do a lot of the hands-on because it's usually too many of us. So we're getting right here on the ends, right? And Miss Myra's hair is a little finer right here. So, however, it's not fine enough to where we have to actually change the shape of it. But, like, we don't want to go and we don't want to make her sideburn its own separate lock. is not gonna be able to handle it. Or it's gonna be skinnier, or you'll put her at risk for sending her to another loctician when she moves and them not understanding that this one lock is gonna need a lot less tension. Sometimes I have clients, they have itty bitty locks that I guess they decided to start on their own or whatever, got a new sprout of hair. Sometimes I will barely touch that lock, because we have to keep in mind it's a locking process, so it's gonna go back through the swelling up process, and you do not wanna have some skinny locks, some big locks. As your clientele grows, you will get people that are gonna have those situations, and you just deal with them the best way that you can. I always inform them. Anytime you run across something different in someone's head, you say, hey, just wanna let you know, you've got this spot right here, because if you don't, and they find it, and they didn't know it was there, they will swear it was you. So, I was talking when I went through it, but there's a way to get the shorter hair to go up into the lock, right? The first thing you wanna do is take your My Gel, and I smoothed her hair up first where I wanted it to lay. Because if not, this hair is really too short to reach all the way back to where it would be. So instead of starting my coil farther to the back, I pulled it up to the front a little bit. And it's always okay to use your other hand to smooth hair up into it as you're coiling. So here we are, I've got everything up, and you can kind of press up into it while you're coiling. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And there we go. Now, Miss Myra, do you want to have a part in your hair? Or you just want them to go all the way to the back? Or do you have a preference?
Back, maybe some on
Like
to
a,
one side.
okay, so I'll probably do a
either
part about right here.
Okay.
Okay,
Cause
so
I got this forehead that sometimes.
Oh.
used to be.
my clients with foreheads are so hard on themselves. But you should not be. You've got a big brain, you're very smart. So I'm just re-wetting her hair. And as you can see, after we shampooed and conditioned it, Ms. Myra's hair is a little bit more kinky than what it looked whenever we took it out of the braids. So again, we're a little bit finer right here. I'm going through and I will smooth all that hair up first. And over time, that hair is going to end up locking in there. But if it doesn't, our baby hair around our scalp, you don't meet very many people where as long as their hair grows in the middle, so does the sides. Everybody has what we call baby hair, but the hair around the perimeter of your head is already pre-genetically disposed to grow to a certain length and stop. We have plenty of black people buying all these serums and stuff and trying to grow hair down their back. If your hair is not genetically predisposed to grow down your back, it's not gonna grow down your back. And you can tell that because the hair goes through 3 different stages. It goes through a growth stage, it goes to a rest stage, and then it goes to a shedding stage. That's all genetics. So as long as you want to grow your hair, you can grow your hair as long as you want until it gets to that rest stage, and then it's going to stop. And then it is going to shed. Now, that doesn't mean that your new strand of hair hasn't started coming in under it, and it's already beginning to grow long, because sometimes you can have a hair follicle with 2 pieces of hair growing out of it, And so you have to be mindful of that, so that when you're walking your clients through the process, you can explain to them that your hair is still shedding the way it would normally shed if you had free-flowing hair. The only difference is that everything that you shed is staying caught up within your locks. And I think that is a part of the reason why the locks are so thick as they go through, because you've got the swelling, you've got the locking, and you've got the 300 or so strands of hair that we lose on a daily basis still locked within your hair. And that also is why, as you begin to lock up, you're gonna see some pieces that begin to bulk up. That's that hair shedding and getting collected in one spot. Sometimes as you twist, you'll see super long little pieces, but if you grab it and pull it, it's hair that has shed, that has worked its way to the bottom of the lock. So when people ask you about things like that, you're able to readily explain it to them. But for whatever reason, when you're locking your hair, you can grow it down to your feet because it's like a chain link of hair kind of hanging onto itself all the way down. It sheds off and it stays there. The next one that grows connects to that one, so on and so forth. But every single strand of hair does not go through the process at the same time. That's the trick to it. So we're working our way through. And if the hair has been conditioned properly and you know they have some sort of curl pattern, it should be really easy because their hair is bouncy and soft. So it's easy for you to go through and work your way through the hair without it getting caught up or tangled. And every once in a while you will run into a slight small tangle, but just how I'm combing through her hair and it's going through with ease, that's how it should be on every single one. This is a technique that you pretty much can only do on somebody that has curly hair. They just have to have curly hair to do it. And the smaller the curl pattern, the easier it is to do on them, because if it's someone with a big curl pattern, it's gonna work, but it's gonna be like really big curls, which is just gonna look like you put curls in their hair, which is the ones that you have to be a lot more mindful of, because you do not want their locks to come out, because their cuticle is just so smooth for the most part. And I say that because that's usually my guys and girls with mixed hair. And the ones with mixed hair, they have a lot more problems getting their locks because their cuticle is smooth. They have a bigger curl pattern. So when the hair wants to fight back and loosen itself, it loosens itself to a really, really big curl. But if her hair texture or curl pattern is already similar to the size lock that we're doing, we're gonna have less problems because it's very similar to what the hair is used to already. But in the same essence, if I wanted to create, an inch wide lock, she would have problems with that. So as much as possible, you want the locks to look like the curl pattern or be close to the curl pattern, because it's gonna give you less problems, because the hair already wants to do that. You don't have to train it so much. So I'm working my way through. I'm not super concerned about the parts being like super, super, super neat, but they are relatively in place. So what happens is we're coming through and we're comb coiling the first time, but you may not have to comb coil again. It really just depends on what's gonna happen with your client, how much their locks have come out by the next time you see them. Now, it's okay for me to put these locks into Miss Lyra's hair and then say Miss Lyra doesn't want to come back for 4 weeks. If she is okay with that, I'm okay with that too, as long as she makes sure that the locks don't come apart. How you feeling, Miss Phyllis? How we doing on time?
What time is it supposed to be? 3?
Yeah, about.
It's 3 over.
Okay, we are almost done.
Cause I see how fast you move.
Mm-hmm. I'm going slower because I'm running my mouth.
So what did you do with my hair was it last week? Was that the palm roll?
I did palm rolling. So with palm rolling, that is the act of rolling the hair in between your palms. But there's an art to it so that you can make it lay the way that you want it to lay. That is easier once the hair is already mature and ready to go. If it stays together well, you can get into palm rolling almost immediately. But if it doesn't, then you don't really want to bother with a palm rolling. You'll be rolling it with your fingers, which does take more time. So if you can get into palm rolling it's a lot easier for you. There are a lot of women and men that will not allow you to do their hair if you cannot palm roll, because they know that anything outside of palm rolling is gonna take longer. So I've had women come up to me and say, "Do you palm roll?" And back then I wasn't palm rolling. I didn't know what it meant.
She actually was able to squeeze me in between two scheduled clients because one of her ladies was out, and what it would take you like,
Probably took me, it usually take me about 30 minutes to get people twisted.
it was quick.
Yeah. And then my ladies have not been doing it for as many years as I have, so even though they are precise, like Miss Edwina is super precise, but I'm quicker than all of them. And I have the most lock clients, so I try to make sure that I'm a little bit quicker because I hate to make people wait. As much as I can, I try to get them in exactly when their appointment starts, but if it, if it's 10, 15 minutes, I'm not like about to die, but I really hate to make people wait. One of my things, my slogan is valuing your time since 2013.
That's kind of why, being here in Sierra Vista, I used to be one of those type of clients. I would come every week to every 2 weeks to get my hair done. And, when I got here, I just couldn't find anybody that I felt valued my time, well enough. And then that's pretty much, I just let it start growing, natural. And then I would get it braided until I get to someone, they get to know you so much that your time still isn't as valuable, like, oh, you're my friend. No,
Yeah.
we're friends, but this is I'm paying you money and
Right.
That is why I don't like to go to houses. Exhausting.
well, and that's how it started, I'm okay with that, but eventually that's how it became. It was like, you're my friend. And they can call, like I gotta go to work on Monday and you set the appointment for Sunday and at say 12. Then you call me back and you say, oh, well, I can't do it to 2, so okay. Because they know that I would be one to like, well, okay,
Accommodate,
yeah.
you're accommodating.
And I felt like that my time wasn't valued as much.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and time is money. It's one of the valuable commodities that we cannot get back.
But somewhere along the line, I just stopped doing, I don't know, whatever. Let me just put one braid, 2 braids. Let me go. Bye. And I want to get it back healthy.
So the rest of the process would be to go through and we work this all the way through. And you may have seen where I started this one, but I went back and I started it over again because I know that was gonna lock bigger than what it needed to be. We go through and we work these all into place. When we get finished, if there is ever excess product on top of your locks, I strongly advise you to take a towel and pat dry them before they go into the dryer, because that, even though it may be water soluble, it is gonna dry up white on their hair. The product's gonna dry and you're gonna be able to see it. And so we get closer to the top, so I'm paying attention. I usually like to I'll start my bottom couple of rows and then I'll do the temples and work my way to the middle. And it usually leaves me with the top that I can usually split evenly. And if it's not like super symmetrical, you split it in half and it's 2 inches on one side and 2 inches on the other side. 2.5. Something like that's okay if the other one's 2 inches. You just have to be mindful of it. You guys have any questions right now?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so once it's finished, once everything is done today, when I go home this evening, what would be my maintenance before I go to bed? Just like you said, I put something on it, but what would be, like for the next week or 2, what is my standard maintenance consisting of?
Are going to wrap your hair up before you get in the shower,
Okay.
because if you don't wrap it up and you get in the shower and you allow all that mist to get to it, the water don't even have to touch it, just the mist in the air will make them swell up. and you want them to look nice and neat. So you wanna wrap it up before you get in the shower and then put your shower cap on,
Okay.
so that you don't get that, the mist through the shower cap, and your, preferably a do-rag or stocking caps are really good for wrapping up locks, and they actually help to encourage the locking, but it makes the hair on the back of your hairline have like little lines of demarcation from the stocking cap. There's not a lot of, wraps that will let you wrap your hair up without some type of line on it. We sell a bunch of different ones at the salon, just to give our clients options. But if you have a satin pillowcase, that is good too. Wrapping your hair up in satin or silk every night is super, super awesome because satin and silk is a non-absorbent material.
Okay.
And so you don't have to worry about it absorbing anything out of your hair. But when you're working out, we want to do cotton. If you work out a lot. But, so you just wanna make sure you keep it dry and keep it in place. The only thing you really need to put on your hair is an oil moisturizer. Just like a hot tin oil or botanical oil,
Okay.
coconut oil, that's
Oh,
all you
okay.
need just on your scalp. Okay, so guys, we're gonna stop right here at this point, and this is gonna be her part, so the rest of these locks are gonna be trained to lay over to this side, so it'll look somewhat like a style for her. And I want you guys to notice how, right here, this is a lot wider, but I chose to do it wider because if I take it apart, it's gonna be too small. And then her hair is so thin right here. Eventually, just with the years of doing locks, this right here eventually ends up popping. Or we could say, you know what? Like I said earlier, we can do it for the cosmetics of it. Make it smaller right here. We can connect it later. We sure can. And her hair is behaving well. It's doing what it's supposed to do. So what would you guys usually be doing on a Monday afternoon?
It's three, well, for me, I don't have a normal Monday. I only had 2 scheduled interviews today, and they were done by 10.
Okay.
So I was able to do 2 more clients that I can close out a couple of cases, but I don't really have a typical Monday.
Okay. Are you a social worker?
No, ma'am, I'm background investigator for security clearances.
Oh, okay, cool. So I can call you next time I hire somebody?
No,
I can't.
I can't do that. So I'm only allowed to investigate cases that I'm assigned by OPM or NBID.
Okay, okay.
Not allowed to do any personal favors, you know,
But you
get it fired. Now, I purchased a couple of programs that I could probably do some digging in and let you know if you find a criminal or somebody's suspect.
Okay. I would be interested in that for sure.
How has that all points bulletin went out for you? Have you had some personnel answer your ads for?
For the hiring, I've had one young lady, but because I changed the hiring process, now I am like, I wanna see your resume and I wanna see your portfolio. And what happened since the law changed, I started getting a lot of what we call kitchen beauticians apply for the position. And at first, because I've been in this position with this bigger building only since 2013, I was super excited to get ladies in the salon ASAP. And like I said, when I put my mind on something, it's gonna happen.
Right.
And I said, you know what, by the time I do my grand opening, I want 8 hairstylists. I had 8 hairstylists, but they were not all quality, you know, because I was, just attitudes about the hair industry. Many people are in it for the money, which is okay. We are here to make money, this is our job. But it was hard to get across to them, if you do what you're passionate about, money is a byproduct.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to chase the dollar bill, because then you begin to treat people like dollar bills.
Yeah.
And I just could not get that across to some of my ladies. And so we ended up having a clean house, and we had a few followers, which are okay, but I call them latchers. They latch on to somebody within the salon, and I ended up having one young lady that just always coincidentally latched on to the most negative person in the group. And so I was like, all right. After a while, I didn't even have to get rid of her. She left on her own because I got rid of the people she would latch to. Because that young lady actually was a great worker, very self-motivated, but just a very negative attitude. Yeah, it just, I had to get a lot stricter because even when people look great on paper, it is just, you just get a gut feeling sometimes like, you know what, I need a boo friend, come on in. No, now I will go without. I will do it without, because I was doing it, without before I had a hairstylist, but I've just gotten so in love with the idea of, making sure I've got booth winners too, so that they can pay the bills. And but like my mentor Marquetta said, you cannot motivate people. They have to be self-motivated, and you are an example for them. You set a good example, and then they follow you if they want to. But I was so convinced that I could motivate people. And you can, but they've got to want it.
Yeah.
They have got to want it.
My youngest son found it after hard work.
Did he? How so?
He's a personal trainer.
Okay.
So some, people come to him and tell him that they want to achieve a certain goal and stuff like that, and they see his transformations, and for whatever reason, people seem to think that's easy. It's not. And he'll go and he'll train on, but last time I talked to him, like, Dad, I saw this guy that I was training. He said he wanted to reach these goals, A, B, C, and D, and we work out 5 days a week for an hour a day. But then I see him at the burger joint eating a burger and a large fry with a milkshake. He's like, I just got to the point, was like, you know what? I can't train you anymore.
Oh, yeah, they've got to want it.
Yeah.
They've got to want it. And I had to create that more strict hiring process, because I would go through and be trying to squeeze time into my schedule to have interview time for these ladies, and training sessions to teach them certain things that they didn't know how to do, and all of that. And 2 months later, I want to do something else. And I'm like, okay, girl, good luck, bye. And so I've got to be a lot more picky, or I'm wasting my time, you know? Because if they want it, they've already got a portfolio. They've been taking pictures of what they've been
Along the
doing
way,
and all of that
Along
stuff, you know? They will show you that they want it. So as I'm going closer and closer to the end, I am being very mindful of my parting now, because when you do all of this, I was able to do this parting almost by eye, as you guys saw. But if that is harder for you guys, you can go through and part it into the sections that you want before you get started. Because parting can sometimes be challenging, and you want your foundation to be right. The great thing about doing the coils is you still have time to correct it. The next 3 or 4 times that they come in, the hair has not locked to where you can't say, you know what, this was a little bigger, let me part that and slide that over here with this one. Eventually it'll get to a point to where you can't do that. But the next couple of sessions, you don't have to worry about that then. Okay.
And so you said the hair will lock within that 6 to 8, is it 8 months or 12 months?
6 to 24 months, the hair will start locking. But you never want to lock yourself into a definite answer. You never, ever, ever want to do that, because it's almost never a definite answer when it comes to the hair locking up, because one person's hair is going to lock one way and another person's hair is going to lock another way.
So after the locking process has taken place,
Yes.
so what happens if she changed her mind and she wants something totally different?
Well, if it is still before the hair has started locking up, you can comb them out.
What if it's already locked?
If it's already locked, locks can be combed out, but they take a long time to do it. And keep in mind, you're gonna lose a lot of hair. You're gonna lose a lot of hair. When I wanted to comb my locks out, but my locks were about down to the middle of my back when I decided to cut them. My ends were already over processed from lightening or bleaching my hair repeatedly to get different hair colors. So that part of my hair, when I combed it out, it was just dusting down to the ground. It was nothing. So I was like, okay, we're gonna cut that part. It was bad. I had over processed the ends of my locks so bad, I could take my locks and shake them and I could just see hair dusting off.
But you knew what you were doing, or you didn't know?
Yeah, well, I knew in order to get blonde, it's gonna be very damaging, and I know my hair is fine, and it's just in a lock, so it was able to handle it for a little bit. And then I wasn't always as lovable to my locks as I am to my clients' locks. Because it was my hair, and I was like, I don't got time, we're gonna retwist the edges, put it in a ponytail, look like I got a fresh retwist, which was horrible. But, that was part of the reason why my hair did pop off. Or start to pop off and not be as healthy looking, so that was part of the reason. And I needed to reinvent myself. I had just opened this new big salon, and I am like, okay, I've got all these women following me now. You know, I want to look in the mirror and see a boss. And so I psyched myself out and chopped my hair off, and it didn't work. So. It was me that needed to change my thought patterns.
Right.
But I was ready for a change with my hair though. But you can comb them out. If you comb them out, this is how you would do it. You're gonna get you some conditioner. A really, really good slippery conditioner, like an Affirm 5-in-1. Are you familiar with that? It's like a conditioner that is like you put it in your hands and it almost looks like slime. It's so slippery. You're gonna take that, and if your locks have been in for a year or so or more, you're gonna wanna let your hair soak up that conditioner for about a day or so.
Wow.
And just let it sit and soak. Sit and soak, sit and soak. That's all you're gonna be doing, so you might wanna be off. And you probably have to get a toothpick or a small fine-tooth comb
Cut it out.
and just sit there and pick it apart.
Okay.
You could lose a lot of hair that way though, but if the locks, the better you take care of the locks, the more likely you won't lose as much hair whenever you begin to comb out. I think that you lose about half of your hair. There was a lady in South Carolina once, her locks were all the way down to her behind. She cut them halfway through and combed them out. She still had hair down to her shoulder.
Wow.
And that was from hair being down to her behind. Mine was to the middle of my back. My hair probably could have made it up to my earlobe, but instead we pulled it up and we cut it until there was about an inch left of lock. But also, I didn't retwist my hair for about 2-3 months. And I let it grow out, and I didn't twist the roots so that I would have that hair not trained to be in a lock. And you also want to make sure you do that because you can cut your hair. If the hair is dense enough, you don't have to worry about having this checkerboard pattern on your scalp when you get a haircut.
Gotcha.
But if you don't, you could have that checkerboard pattern. So you kind of want to let the hair grow out a little bit and get back used to being free and doing its own thing. Okay. So these are you guys' locks right here. Who would like to go first?
Shoot.
It's easy peasy. You watch me do a whole head. Okay, and now I twisted all of Miss Lyra's hair to the right. Okay. All of it's going to the right, so every time she gets her hair retwisted, we're gonna be twisting it to the right. And if your hair gets comb gets tangled up in the hair like you just saw mine right now, don't freak out. Just take it out and slowly pick it back out. Detangling the hair is really, really easy. You detangle hair from the ends and work your way up. So whenever you run into a knot, you immediately take the comb out and you start from the ends of the hair and you work it out. And when you detangle hair, you don't start here or you run up into it and pull it. You detangle the end of it and you hold it and you go a little further down, and that's gonna be a lot easier and a lot quicker to detangle, okay? All right, Mr. Umstead. Usually it's ladies first, but you're the first to be bold enough to volunteer. So would you like to use this comb or would you like to use this one? This one? Okay, I'll give you a clean one because this hair is gonna make it a little more difficult. So I've already got the product in it. All you have to do, these are coming over, let's see. Well, if we originally said the part would be right here, but because you can already see the hair wants to fall this way, so we're gonna use this as our part to keep this way. So you just part it, make sure it's tangled out, comb in at the roots, keep this hair out of the way, and then we're going to twist. Just like so, and work your way all the way down to the end. Now, that was me just cheating, but, okay. She's all yours. Now, does your girlfriend already have established locks?
No, not quite.
Okay, so she's thinking about getting
Well,
locks.
she said she's gonna get them, but it's my job to be prepared.
Okay. You see his face. Keep it up. Practice makes perfect.
Do they sell mannequin heads with like textured hair?
They do. And I have one in the car. I can show it to you. But just in case we didn't have a model, I always bring a mannequin head just in case so we can still proceed with the class. How do you feel? So the only thing you probably would need to work on is getting in there closer to that root.
I saw that.
And then you remember whichever way your back of your comb is pointing, that's the way that the lock is gonna go. And as you're twisting, make sure you're pulling it down. There you go.
No.
Just like that. So what you did was really, really good. You just have to keep practicing, and then once you get to the end, make sure that you work it all the way through. So with yours, you probably need a little bit more product to smooth. You're gonna have some short hairs in some spots. You wanna just go ahead and smooth those up in there. And then I guess I should have told you to hold it taut like this. So then that way, you start in there. You've got like a head start, you know?
Okay.
And then work your way down, and just as you're twisting, make sure you're pulling it down as you're twisting, and then work your way all the way through.
Oh, shit. That's why I'm a little intimidated about even trying.
You can do it just like that. And practice makes perfect.
Mhm.
Practice makes perfect with anything. Okay, so this one's for you, Miss Phyllis.
You know what?
She said this feeling, she's like,
I like to do
that's not my
Go in order. She going to
Hey, sorry, I thought this was the line. Which one would you prefer?
I'm gonna do this because I have one of these.
Okay. With that one, you just want to be careful because it's really sharp, and it could poke you or poke her. Yeah, those little plastic teeth are very sharp.
So, Miss Deanna, are you in
You still
the
make sure you comb, right?
hair expo that's happening in May? Are you doing anything in there?
In June? Is it June?
I think it's May.
Did I give you a flyer for it?
I saw it on Facebook.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that.
But there's one in June as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
this way, because if you did it the other way, I think according to her,
Apprentice.
it would be flipping up.
Right, just like that. So, but you wanna work that comb down as you twist, or that's what's gonna cause the tangling.
Let me try that.
Okay, no problem, no problem. I like this one because it's got that wide side, so you can go back and detangle with it if you like. Are you left-handed, Miss Phyllis? Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
It looks a little backwards, okay? Ready?
Uh-huh,
So,
just like that.
I have it right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, see, you know how to see it now.
Teeth on one side, hair on the other side.
This is right?
Uh-huh, just like that.
No, it's not going.
It is.
It's twisting.
It is, it is. Just keep this hair separate. So when you do it, I'm gonna do it like a left-handed person for you.
Do it.
Okay? So I'm gonna smooth these small hairs up. And so with your left hand, you're gonna come in this way. And because I'm right-handed, I have a tendency to wanna help it, but I would go like this. And so if the teeth are pointing this way, this hair is behind it. So for you, it's gonna look like this. See how that hair is staying on that side?
But you see how awkward it is, huh?
Yes, it is. But that's because I'm not left-handed. But
See, I'll be
See
gonna
how
put my
it's-
finger and pull it.
that works too, that works
So
too.
that's okay too?
That is okay too, but you still wanna make sure that it's smooth.
Oh.
Because if you just coil it, then it doesn't smooth the hair as much. And then when it reverts back, it's gonna revert back unevenly throughout it a little bit more. But just like that, so I'm gonna let you do it. And it does take a minute, like if you have to do something to the opposite way that you're not used to doing it. But when I was doing my clients' locks and I had to twist some to the left and some to the right, it took, I had to slow down when I got to the left side and had to twist it to the left. But it can be done.
Oh, yeah.
Just make sure you're gliding it down at the same time and you'll have less tangles, as well as making sure you're wet with product, because then that's gonna make sure that it's slippery enough for you. And then the same way that you're doing right there, you keep the teeth on one side and you keep the comb on the other side.
All right,
Then it got to a groove.
Yes. Just like that, and then you make sure you work it all the way down. So if you don't get your end as nice and neat as you want, you could just grab a little bit of product, and then after you're done, you can take a little bit of product, I barely have any product on my hand, and just smooth it on through, just like this, and that'll finish it up for you nice and neat, just like that. Good job!
I'm gonna put a lot of pressure on
You got this, Miss Kristen, you got this.
I know you. This one.
Okay, okay, you want me to wet your hair a little? Okay. It should have a little product on it, but if you need some more, you just let me know. You wanna smooth all your small hairs up into the section so that you don't have to worry about fighting with those afterwards. By the time I get to this point, this is about the time where I will warm the dryer for my client. I try to make sure that I do not put people
That's the
under a
steamer.
cool, this is the steamer, okay. I try to make sure I don't put people under a cool dryer, because it's uncomfortable.
Oh, no, I'm
I'm asking about the dog, because I know my sons don't wanna sit on the dog before you let me do it.
Oh, okay, no problem.
So should I have started tighter?
That looks good, probably just closer to the root, that's all. Just closer to the root, which would look like this. I'm gonna grab a little more product, smooth this in. And then I try to keep the comb as close to the scalp as possible when I first start that first turn. All the way through, I'm always mindful to glide it down as I go. And then there's itty hairs sticking off, and you see me doing this, I'm just training those hairs in there with a little bit of product. So now we've got her dryer warming up. Like I said, I always warm the dryer up for the clients. If you're doing them at home and you don't have a dryer, they can air dry. It's gonna take a little bit longer. They have stand-up dryers though that have wheels on them that you can roll around. They even have those ones where you can pick it up and put it on your head and attach a blow dryer to it. In this hot Arizona sun, you could literally just go outside and dry. Out of the way. And then so she'll probably sit up under here. The first time they go up under the dryer is going to be the shortest time that they will be under the dryer. After that, every time they come from under the dryer, their dryer time is longer and longer and longer. And then as the locks begin to become mature and thicker and they're setting up on top of each other, you're going to want to get into contraptions like dryer accelerators, which unfortunately is something that is not available for purchase on the market right now. And I had these personally made, so I'm having a lady to make more so that when I have them at these lock classes, I used to have them made and given out at my lock classes. It takes a long time for locks to dry. The dryer is not designed for our hair on the ends that hangs down our shoulders to dry. So what ends up happening is you take clips and you pull the hair up and you clip it up and then you allow that hair to dry. Then you come and you remove the clip, then this part dries, and then after that part dries, you come back another 20 minutes later, you open the hair up and then allow the back to dry. The part that you guys have the most issues with is going to be this back nape area. The back nape area takes the longest to dry because it's the farthest away from the heating source on the dryer and the air doesn't get to it as much. So sometimes I will cheat when my clients are almost just about dry and everything on the scalp is done. I will take my handheld blow dryer and blow dry them the rest of the way. Unless it is like smack in the middle of the summer, I do not let them leave wet. That is a recipe for mold. If ever you get a client with mold on their hair, you can do apple cider vinegar rinses, which is like 1 cup of baking soda, 1 cup of apple cider vinegar, and hot water as much as they can stand it. Some people like to do lemon juice in it as well, and that helps to break up the mold. It does not always rinse it off right away. Sometimes you got to do 2 or 3 treatments at a time. There's also an old remedy that a Rasta man taught me where you take cheap aspirin and get like some cheap Suave shampoo or something and crunch it up and put it in the bottle and shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. And then you wash their hair with that repeatedly and that will begin to get the mold and build up off of their hair. But it is going to make their hair extremely dry. But you do not want to have to get to those type of measures because you get those type of measures when you do not allow the hair to dry. And I've seen mold to where it was so caked up on this little boy's hair one time. His hair looked blonde and it was actually the yellow mold in his hair. So, but it, you know, he had the mold for so long, it wasn't smelly, it didn't stink or anything like that at all. It just took us a while to get through it. So, yes. So, yeah.
Wow.
So, huh?
You did it.
Yes. Well, I wanted to let you guys know that in August, I am starting a mentorship program, and it is called Growth Initiation, and it's for young beauty professionals that are looking to grow in the beauty profession. And what I am doing is through my experience and failures, I am sharing everything and giving one-on-one mentoring starting in August. So my goal is to teach a class every month up until the month of August, and then in August, my class will actually be my growth initiation class, where you get 1 month of mentoring one-on-one, and you will learn about my experiences of growing and opening up my business, how I dealt with depression going through my business. You know, I lost my mom in 2012 in a drunk driving accident, and I'm a worker. So when I get stressed out and I get sad, I get up and I go to work. And so my business is almost a result of me being sad and depressed and running from those emotions. And I guess that kind of jump started it. And I have met a lot of other business professionals that have dealt with anxiety, depression, thoughts of suicide and things like that while trying to start a business or pretending like life is okay while you're working through your careers and things like that. And so it's my mission to share how I have overcome those things and how sometimes I don't, but I still keep it moving and I stay focused and how to avoid those things. So right now I'm offering that class at $300 or that mentorship program at $300. But for you guys it is $150, and I will send you guys the information on it tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. It will be in your email box. Okay?
Can I get the virtual reality version of it since I won't be here
Yeah, definitely.
for your online students?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really super excited just to share my experiences with people because I feel like being transparent is where it's at, where we learn from each other. And I feel like we oftentimes romanticize opening a business and we make it like, girl, I got my own business, I'm an entrepreneur, and it is hard, okay? You have to learn how to deal with people. You have to learn how to stand your own ground and really stand flat-footed, and even with a smile on your face say, these are my standards and this is okay if you don't match those standards, Oftentimes in the beauty industry, we have what we call independent contractors. Our booth renters and sometimes your commission workers can be independent contractors. And so you always run into the chick that's like, or the guy, or beauty professional that's like, well, I'm an independent contractor and I'm just leasing this space from you, so I'm gonna do it this way and that way. And for me in the beginning, it was hard for me to say, that's great, but you can't do that here because at Melvirus Hair Studio, these are the standards to work here. And I found myself in a spot to where I was walked over, disrespected, biting my nails off at night, being undermined in front of my other employees. And when you get one rotten apple, it spoils the whole bunch. And like I said, I had a young lady that was a latcher, as I call it, and she would, I swear, she'd latch on to the most negative person, And I wasn't being held accountable. I'm an entertainer in town as well. And so I was gigging, as we call it in the musician circle. I was getting a lot of sweet gigs and singing at the Legacy of Excellence and doing house parties, and I was not putting my focus on my business. I wasn't present. And a lot of my people were kitchen beauticians that had just gotten into the beauty industry. They needed some type of support, And me being a new, young baby boss, as I called it a year ago, all of that went right over my head. I'm like, y'all got shampoo, y'all got conditioner. I made everything to where you guys are okay. But sometimes people just need you to hold their hand for a little bit. Whether they're independent contractor or not, you just gotta be there, especially if I am the business model. So my growth initiation is me sharing what my mentors have shared with me and things that I had to learn by trial and error. The biggest thing being that I needed a mentor because I wasn't doing it with mentors at first. I was learning everything trial and error, and it was a lot. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anytime you see your clients do this, when you're serving tables, they call it rubbernecking. When people do this, it means something is wrong. Check in with your people. So when they're at the dryer and you see them touching the earrings and checking to see if it's dry, they're ready to go. Or the earrings are burning them or something. Yeah. So I will send you guys the email at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And if it's something that you're interested in, that's fine. And if it's not, I want you to stay in touch with me and let me know how your lock journey is going. And anytime you have questions, feel free to tap in with me and call me. I'm always available most of the time. Usually when I'm not available is because I'm at work and my hands are going. But what I've done is I've begun to transition my actual hair clients from calling me all the time to scheduling their own appointments online, which is a great piece of advice I got from Ms. Phyllis and a few other stylists. because technology is taking over, and oftentimes as an independent stylist, you are the marketer, you are the everything, you order the food, you order everything you need for the shop, you train people, you still take care of clients, you clean your garden, clean the parking lot, whatever. So, I'm transitioning all of my clients to schedule themselves on Pagaro so that I can make myself more available for my students and mentees and stuff like that. So that is all the transition happening. How'd you guys like the class today? Good. Awesome. So let's check on Miss Phyllis. Like I said, it does not take them long to dry at all the first time. Her back is still a little bit damp. And so like I said, I like to make sure that I value people's time. So I always pay attention to them when they're under the dryer, because it's really easy. Just for example, if you're a smoker, you put them under the dryer and you go and smoke a cigarette and talk on the phone for a little bit. It could be, 20, 30 minutes that she was ready to come from up under the dryer. Or maybe she's attached with this and she's got to get up and go to the ladies' room and, she needs your help. I just like to always be visible to my people. Even if it's just I'm outside talking to someone on the phone, I'll peep in and say, hey, Miss Myra, you okay? I have burnt a client before just sitting under the dryer because these clips, when they come in for their retwist, these are the clips that you clip their hair down with. These clips get hot. Yeah. So when your hair dries, these will stay cool as long as the hair is still wet. When the hair dries, the heat transfers to this little piece of metal. And I burnt a client once, and he didn't say anything. He sent me a text and was like, "This is burning." I'm standing right here.
New generation.
He didn't want to disrupt the whole.
Yeah, I was like standing right there. And he's like, "This is burning." I'm like, "Really? You don't look like it's burning?"
Because out of all my trips to the salon, I think everybody would probably agree that hair dryer is probably like the most dreaded piece of the whole process. Like
Nobody likes the
nobody
hair
likes the
dryer.
dryer. I could sit in your chair all day. The minute you say it's time
Yes,
to go to the
nobody
dryer,
likes the hair dryer at all.
Really?